Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to an all-new season and an inaugural series at that here at Race by Wire, the recently founded and premier sim racing community that aims to deliver some of the finest racing and some of the most gently and sportsmanlike racing as well that you can find anywhere in the world, albeit the community maybe from the United Kingdom primarily, but it is a global community welcoming racers from far and in between to join its admin members on the grid week in, week out in some absolutely premier sim racing action. And we're here today to kick off its first ever series, for it is the one and only Porsche Cup Season 1, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and proudly sponsored by none other than Energise Virtual Solutions. We're here today then to kick off an all-new season, and aptly so, just before Christmas. It is Wednesday the 17th of December 2025. Therefore, think of this as a premature Christmas present, or an early one, where you're unwrapping nice and early, and you get to enjoy some absolutely brilliant racing entertainment today, as we get set ready to kick off a championship campaign. We begin the story here at Miami International Autodrome, recently introduced to the real-world motorsporting environment. A circuit based around the streets surrounding the Hard Rock Stadium in the city of Miami, particularly in the US state of Miami as well. And as all drivers get set today, in fact the US state of Florida there, let me correct myself straight away. Well, as our drivers get ready to go racing today, they're going to find themselves taken on a circuit that is far from familiar and arguably is very new to them, not just with their experience in real world racing, but also on the simulator, because we are hosting this of course on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And as we do, what iRacing's recently unveiled is 2026 Season 1 content, and the Miami International Autodrome was added to the content as part of that update. So this is a very new circuit to our drivers, and therefore it is going to be a real eye-opener as to who is going to get their season off to a flying start. But where are my manners? You know the one thing we haven't done? We haven't introduced and welcomed you to this broadcast. And hello to you guys and girls tuning in today, whether you're in the UK or further around the world. I hope you're all doing well as we get set here, and you're tuning into this broadcast on the one and only available platform is of course on YouTube at youtube.com, and search for Race by Wire RBW, and you can be tuning in there on the official Race by Wire YouTube channel and joining the many individuals who I do believe are tuning in right now. But don't be shy, feel free to say hi and let us know how you're doing tonight. And if you've got a bit of a frown, if you've got a bit of the Christmas blues and the build up to Christmas Day, because Christmas can be a bit of a stressful time, we'll sit back, relax, take it nice and easy, and let's turn that frown upside down into a big old smile, because you get set to tune in some absolutely incredible racing. And in terms of our schedule for tonight, times in the UK time zone, that's Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time, UTC, in approximately what will be 12 minutes or so time, will we open up with our first ever qualifying session of the season, 10 minutes in length, all drivers out there giving it their all, after which we'll then head to the grid for the first of 2 races, and every round will consist of 2 races this season. The first race, a sprint race, 12 minutes in length. That sounds a bit of an odd number, but let's promise you, based on the experience our admins have seen in hosting other series, it is a short but an absolutely brilliant length where it really is an out-and-out sprint, after which we take a very brief breather before returning at just gone 25 past 8 this evening for our 30-minute feature race. We increase the time duration of the race by 2.5 times, so that means 2.5 times the pacing and also the intelligence when it comes to managing the car from our drivers, and who will set the pace marks in both our gold and silver classes. That's what we want to see. In the quarantine booth, you have myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And I shall be guiding you on this journey, not just through tonight, but the entirety of the season, and what a season we have in sight. And in fact, it's so hot off the press this season, and it's so hot off the press this series and the circuit we're racing on, we haven't even got a track map available yet on our overlay. Indeed, the fact we want to bring you the racing from Miami immediately goes to show how eager we are to kick things off with a bang. And let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen, by taking a look at our calendar coming into this season. So, our calendar begins on the 17th of December at the Miami International Autodrome. The Grand Prix layout playing host for our drivers today. But after today, we leave the United States of America with a Christmas break. A 2-week Christmas break, which will then see our drivers return. And when they do, we have got a further 9 rounds of racing. It is relentless from that point onwards, with round number 2 seeing our drivers make their way southwards to Brazil for the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and the Grand Prix layout of the infamous Brazilian circuit plays host them. Then we make our way to France and the European continent for one of a limited number of visits to Europe Europe this season, and it will be at the Circuit 24 du Mans, the fallout of which will be seen on Drive's Take On the 14th of January, where it's going to be a lot more about strategy there and potentially also some smarts in the draft. In round 4, we head back to the US of A for our second of 4 visits, and it will be at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta that we'll see our drivers take on the roller coaster ride of road racing. And on the 28th of January, to complete the first month of 2026, it will be at the Grand Prix layout of the One Circuit, which absolutely sends shivers down the spine of many when we do say breaking into turn 1 on lap number 1. Yes, it's the Autodrome National Monza, and we'll have to see who's going to be the bravest on the brakes there. Now we'll complete the first half of the season in terms of number of rounds, and we go straight into the second half of the season, with round number 6 requiring our drivers to navigate the fellow Italian circuit of Imola, or known in full as the Autodrome Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari. After that, we'll then make our way deeper into February. It will be round number 7 and 11th of February at the Daytona International Speedway road course, and then we will continue the theme of staying in the US of A for a 4th American circuit, and it will be at Sebring International Raceway's International Layout on the 18th of February, where we may see some drivers take flight. Alternatively, they may end up having to land early, and it would seem as though the Hendricks Army Airfield may hold some drivers back. But those who are able to take flight, they'll then fly their way to Germany for the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit, and on the 25th of February, that will be our penultimate round of the season, round number 9, and then we bring things to a close by opening up the season on an all-new circuit and closing it on an all-new circuit for the iRacing simulator. Indeed, we're heading to Australia for the Adelaide Street Circuit. It's Grand Prix layout on the 4th of March 2026, and what a venue to bring things to a close, and many will have it fresh in their mind still, even though it is 30 years or so. And so when it happened, the season finale instant between Damon Hill and Michael Schumacher and the championship decider of the Formula 1 championship for that year, where it's going to be our championship deciding round there, and could we see 2 races that will turn things on their head at the very last hurdle. Well, that's our calendar, an absolutely brilliant calendar following the iRacing Porsche Cup officials as well, and therefore we look forward to seeing things take flight tonight. But as we come into this round, let's talk about our host circuit. It is, of course, the Miami International Autodrome's Grand Prix layout, located near the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens of the Miami-Dade, county of Florida in the United States of America. That's a mouthful to say very quickly, but this circuit map provided to us by iRacing.com, and a huge thank you to iRacing, not just for their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely superb track maps that come with it really brings to life a street circuit which is temporary by nature, and indeed is one that can very quickly be spun up and spun back down. Nowadays, it does have 5 different layouts to accommodate the fact that this circuit has tried to branch out to feature racing from multiple disciplines, not just Formula 1, but in 2022, when it was unveiled to the world, it was purpose-built for Formula 1 racing, and you can tell that by its design. With multiple sweeping bends, starting off with the opening corners there of turns 1 through to 8. We'll then have a long, fast and furious run from turn number 8 all the way up to turn number 11, where the walls are always going to be looming large, and then it's into a low-speed sector there of turns 11 through to 16, while drivers will need to carefully navigate their way through some very tight corners before they make their way onto an extensive back straight all the way down to the hairpin at turn number 17. Then we can expect battles under braking, but those who get it right will then make their way for the curve of 18 and past the sweeper of 19 to complete lap and do it all over again. And what an extensive lap it is, coming at the best part of just shy of 2 minutes of the very fastest drivers out there. Indeed, a lap to be remembered, and indeed they'll need to commit to memory rather quickly. As for our rules, of course we can't go racing without rules, so what exactly are the rules for this season? Well, first up, setup wise, this is an open setup series where drivers bring a setup of their choice to each and every round. They're expected to have more than enough fuel in the car, should they put the right amount of fuel in to make it to the end of each race without needing a pit stop. More on that very shortly, why we might see them come to the pits then. Qualifying wise, a closed qualifying format shall be used, so all the drivers take to an isolated instance of the circuit and they are able to put in their best qualifying times, of which they have 10 minutes or 24 flying laps available, whichever expires first. We expect the laps to be very close to the 10-minute mark because they also have the out lap. Indeed, the fastest will be just shy of it, otherwise some might lose that full flying lap, because when the clock strikes 10 minutes, there's no overtime, we go straight to the grid. And when we set the grid for race number 1, it'll be based on qualifying. That's a given for the sprint. As for the feature race, we will be seeing the grid set based on results of the sprint race, however with the caveat that we invert the top 10 finishing positions from the sprint. What does that mean in layman's terms? Well, that means the winner of the sprint race starts in 10th place for the feature race, and we invert that top 10 all the way down to 10th place, whereby the 10th place finisher from the sprint, they start on pole for the feature, and those who finished 11th and downwards in the sprint, you guessed it right, that's exactly where they start for the purposes of the feature. Now the races shall commence by a standing start as a tradition of Porsche Cup racing, and drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 17 or more instant points. But as we make our way, or get ready to make our way back to circuit side, of course we do want to talk a little bit about our title sponsor for this season. is, of course, Energise Virtual Solutions, and a huge thank you to them for sponsoring this series. Now, Energise Virtual Solutions, or EVS, is a software consultancy whose aim is to meet the demands of bespoke product services and development. Where it's a completely new project or consultancy assistance on existing projects, Energise Virtual Solutions will be working alongside you every step of the way. If you would like to know more about their services, do head to their website, and that is energisevirtual.com. And a huge thank you to them once again for sponsoring this series. But as we come back to circuit side, ladies and gentlemen, well, all drivers right now getting themselves accustomed to their cars, and they need to do so quite quickly, because as we do see here, Richard Simnor making his way on around, well, it's not just new circuits and a new series we have here, we also have a new car to Porsche Cup Racing. And Simnor decides to park up the car there with 5 minutes to spare, and we look to Joe Newman. Now, this new car is the Porsche 992.2 Cup car, so we are onto the second rendition of the very popular 992 machine. It is a Porsche 911, but the official designation is 992, and this is now the .2 or the Mark II. So what's special about this car compared to its predecessor? Well, the power output has been increased from its flat 6 4-litre engine. It's 6 cylinders there, not 4 cylinders. My goodness me, that's blasphemy in the world of talking about Porsches. But this machine has gone from 510 brake horsepower at the rear wheels to 514. So only 4 brake horsepower. So what exactly? Well, it's a more aerodynamically refined car. It's also a car that has seen some improvements to the way in which it deploys that power in the first place, and particularly with regards to its suspension. However, what is perhaps more intriguing is that in order to make Porsche Cup racing in the real world more accessible, particularly to the likes of Porsche Super Cup series, we have seen the introduction of the full electronics package on these cars. What does that mean? Well, on the Porsche 992.1 cars, or the Mark 1s, these cars had no traction control, so no TCS active, nor any anti-lock braking systems or ABS active for Super Cup rules. However, those rules have been changed going into 2026. We will be seeing the introduction of both electronics packages to the car, and it means now that these cars are much more accommodatable to the newer driver, because previously, drivers had to essentially do all the hard work with regards to avoiding locking up the brakes themselves. They had to modulate the brakes, and also the same with the throttle. They had to be smart with deploying the throttle. However, as they now make their way around the circuit, and we look to Ollie Pimley here, our drivers will have a little bit more breathing room in how they drive the car, because they do have these electronics packages available. However, there is an art to these cars, therefore, whereby you have the electronics, yes, however, the electronics are not going to do all the work for you. And that's a misconception. I can tell you one thing, when many iRacing drivers, including some of our drivers perhaps here, heard that the 992.2 was coming and heard the electronics were going to be turned on in the cars, many were sceptical what that would mean for these machines. What it means is now there's an even bigger challenge here, because you want those electronics to be dialed down to an extent. You want them quite low, whether it's the ABS or the TCS, to avoid as much interference as possible. However, you want them on in order to give you the ability to really attack with the car to the point whereby you use the electronics to aid you, however, you don't abuse them to the point they go against you. Whereas the previous car, without them, if you went too far on the brakes, there was a lock-up, you'd go straight on, you'd understeer beyond the corner's apex. Traction control rise, meanwhile, there was no traction control. You had to balance it with either a light or a heavy right foot, and if you got it wrong, you'd find the rear of the car coming around very quickly. However, in these cars, you can still have moments like that, however, you just have a little bit more leeway, but it's on the limits, which are much harder to find now, that these cars really come alive, and that's why it's so interesting. Already, what we've been hearing up and down the paddock, those who are sceptical of the car have immediately converted to it, and those who are excited for it, well, they're absolutely jumping up and down in joy, and that's what we love to hear. But as our drivers make their way around, that's the synopsis of our new car. So now the big question some of you might be asking after this point is, well, what about our grid? Well, we do have the best part of 36 drivers on this grid, of which not all of them could make this round today. We do have a couple of drivers who will be seen in the weeks and rounds to come. Indeed, with the build up to Christmas, understandably, some are travelling for Christmas holidays and some just have some personal circumstances. We should point out there is one drop score available each season, so therefore it does mean out of our 10 rounds, our drivers' best 9 rounds, or the sprint and feature races added together in each round, that will be their final championship score. They are allowed to drop a single round, so therefore those who are not on the grid today immediately confirm round number 1 as their drop score are a 0 score, and anything beyond that they will start to lose points in the championship hunt. But we'll see drivers competing in both the gold and also the silver driver classes, of which one of our gold stars here is none other than Matt Strand, who you've regularly seen previously on the grid in the likes of the iRacing official Porsche Cup by Conspit series, as well as other Porsche Cup series. He's a big fan of this machine, machine, no doubt about it. Albeit he does have the student driver. Oh, goodness me, that's very close to the exit wall there. I was going to say he does have the student driver sign on the side of the car here today, so I don't know if he's been put up to that as part of a bit of a Christmas joke or eternity here, where he's still considering himself a learner. As meanwhile, we look to Adam Klamvik, a silver driver right now, and he's one of your many silvers out there, who right now is looking to be the fastest of the silver. He's all the way up in third place. Do keep in mind, these classes are subject to some revision after the opening round, so therefore some drivers may be repositioned after this round, but they are provisional classes at this time, so you just have to bear with them a little bit. But that's always the way, of course. We're a brand new season, a brand new field of drivers as well. They all try to be categorised correctly by our admins, but sometimes we don't get it quite right. That's not to say Klamvik is going to be changed as he makes an error there. Indeed, anybody could be changed, but right now, as all our drivers make their way back into the pit lane and we look at the wonderful Terriers there, well, practice is complete, ladies and gentlemen, and that means it's time to go into our maiden qualifying session of the season here in Miami. So, qualifying gets underway, and as it does, who is going to be the fastest over 10 minutes? Let's find out. Now, for all the drivers here, it is going to be a bit of an intriguing qualifying session because it is the first time they'll really be pushing these cars in anger. They'll have no company on the circuit with them. That's the whole point of a closed qualifying format, in the fact that over 10 minutes, if you did put the best part of 30 drivers out there, even on an extensive circuit such as this one, which does span the best part of several miles, and, well, with that, 3.36 miles to be precise. You did the mathematics, 3.36 miles divided by 30 cars, let's say, and we're a little bit of rounding off here and there. What it really effectively means is, at most, you've got about 0.11 miles per car. To put that into kilometres, or a number of metres, if my mental mathematics is correct, you haven't even got 200 metres between each and every car if you space them out equally on the circuit. That would lead to a little bit of chaos, albeit it would lead to a bit of intrigue as well, so we've taken the safe decision here at Race by Wire to make sure that our drivers have a little bit more space to cooperate with. Now, as Pollard makes his way around, that means these closed qualifying sessions do take on a much more aggressive nature, whereby drivers know that everyone has the ability to run a clean lap. But that means you've also got to get a perfect lap. There's no slipstream available on these laps, unlike in other qualifying sessions. That long back stretch between turns 16 and 17, whereas under race conditions, you'll pick up a big toe that's worth almost half a second on there. You don't have that advantage. And Mikey Pollard right now having to pick his way around the circuit in his warm-up lap, where he goes on to the first of his flying laps. So we're going to give our drivers a couple of laps to get their tyres warmed up, at which point we will jump on board for a maiden flying lap of the season and take you around this Miami circuit. But right now, everybody definitely trying to keep it together here and get themselves all set. We've got plenty of fresh names on the grid, none other than Fabrizio Penzo, who I do believe is competing in his first ever iRacing League, if it's not his first ever Sim Racing League. So good luck to the Italian driver here. We look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do, but it's absolutely brilliant to see him out there in the number 55. We also do have none other than fellow Italian star Emma Rio, who right now making her way through turn number 18 and 19 towards a first flying lap, and the wonderful pink, purple and blue machine, that's number 33 in the silver class. We've also got some other names a bit further down, some of which you may have seen on other grids and racing series over the last couple of years, including Krista Halsoy here for Tractics Racing, who's one of the rising stars of sim racing, no doubt about that, in series that I've covered where he's been racing in, and whether he's in the GT3 or a Cup car, I get the feeling he's going to be quite the capable driver behind the wheel, albeit he has changed his GT3 racing for a Cup car, fancying a bit more of a challenge, and with the introduction of electronics, I think that's given him the go-ahead in the shiny machine there, the gold and silver machine, albeit he is a silver class driver at the moment, we should point out. I think it's given him the confidence to think that he can potentially attack the lap. As he makes his way down through the big sweeping left-hander there and into the right, the open half lap, you can just see how they have to carry the speed from corner to corner and apex to apex. Really challenging here, and will runs a bit deep, just about keeps within track limits there. I think that might have been on the boundary condition of what qualifies as track limits on the white lines and the curbing. The Housewife, they're carrying all the speed. My goodness, if he went any wider, something would tell me that he may have ended up taking a long trip all the way to the runoff area, but not quite. But as he makes his second lap, we do say hello to a few of you in the YouTube chat, including their Hillbilly Racing 55, and well, great to hear from you as well, Hillbilly. Very happy to see you in the chat, and indeed none other than Billy Bob there, and well, he's raced on a number of series I've commentated on in the past, and I'll tell you one thing, always a great driver and an absolute gentleman race as well. And I do have to ask Billy Bob, why haven't we got you on the grid here? Because we'd love to see you giving it your all here, and I do believe one of the first ever series I covered featured you in a Porsche Cup car. We'll also say hello there to Patrick Falconer, who says evening all, and I hope you're doing well. well. Paddy, as he's known to friends. I think he allows me to call him Paddy these days, although I've never quite confirmed that with him, so hopefully we're allowed to be that familiar. If not, I do apologise, good sir. But he'll be there as the next round, because he's missing this round, unfortunately, but he will be there from round number 2 onwards. We also say hello there to Nick DeBeck, who is, of course, part of the Pace community, and indeed, Nick, an absolutely brilliant sim racer there, indeed a very talented sim racer at that, where he takes the GR86 Cup cars all the way through these Porsche Cup machines. There's not quite anything that he can't race in, as I understand it, and he's looking forward to seeing how this series plays out. And we also do say hello there to none other than Ross Lawrence, who says good evening, and good evening to you, Ross. Now, our drive's first lap times are coming on in, and it does seem as though every right now getting themselves all warmed up. These laps are definitely building, but as they do, we also do have a couple of drivers who've cheekily made it into the race session a little bit perhaps later than others, and therefore, as they make the way around, I think we have got a couple of drivers here still looking to find a lap time, including Matt Spurrell and Andy Jones and Alan McCain. They haven't got any times on the board right now, and how can you tell? Oh my goodness, as the car bounces around its suspension there. That's not a way to do that, I can tell you that, as he makes his way out of turn number 16. But Spurrell, they're taking so much apex curve at that point, I thought the car was going into the air, but not quite, as it comes down to the hard tarmac. And well, they say it's the Hard Rock Stadium here, but I don't think he wants to take it quite literally. But we're on his way onwards, and as he does, well, right now for Spurrell, he's going towards the end of his first flying lap, as meanwhile we've got a couple of drivers already making their way halfway through their second flying lap, and the fastest one after the first lap turned is Oscar Bernson here, a huge star in the iRacing official Porsche Cup, so he's the Strength of Field broadcast, of which he has taken multiple podiums, and I do believe in chase down wins in a couple of the weekly races. And Matt Spurrell, meanwhile, well, for all the chaos of jumping around on the circuit, we left him and we come back to him, and I can tell you one thing, the number 5 driver right now, there is some common sense in the madness. He's gone second fastest of everybody, and silver provisional pole there, only 900ths down on Bernson, and Spurrell right now is absolutely flying. Well, I can tell you one thing, he was flying in many regards, but that's the way perhaps you've got to do it. But as Oscar Bernson heads across the timeline, we ride on board here with number 55 to see him put together another lap. He's going down in towards turn number 1. As he does so, well, right now clearing the open apex and then through the left-handers at turn 2 into the right-hander of 3, up from 2nd to 3rd, but here all about balancing the throttles. Matt Strand goes the fastest of everybody by a 10th. So Bernson now over to the right-hand side here, getting himself set up for the next set of corners. Hard on the brakes initially, just a small dab, but he'll gradually feed the car through, and more of the sweeping bends here. Left, right, left, as he comes on out, and as he does so, cutting as much apex as humanly possible here. You've got to know your track limits in order to be able to min-max the lap, as they say. And as he now comes on through turn number 8, it's going to be the big sweeping run now all the way up towards turn number 11 here, as he looks from wall to wall. But as he makes way in towards the right-hander in 5th gear, and that's going to be turn number 9 into 10. Building up the speed more and more, heading upwards of 160 miles an hour as he gets ready to go onto the brakes here into turn number 11. That long corner breaking down for 164 miles an hour all the way from 6th to 2nd gear. And as he goes from left into right here, now it's all about the tight and technical bits. As he keeps it nice and close to the wall, they're coming through 12. Now switching to the left-hander at turn 13. And now over a slight blind rise here through 14 into 15, bouncing over those curves, cutting as much as possible. And now back into left-hander at turn number 16. Get the throttle nailed here, and he'll be able to carry all the speed down the back stretch. And he's only got 3 more corners to go, but it's been a good run so far. But we're hoping for a little bit more here before all is said and done. And he comes on down the back stretch, but right now seems to be going the right way, and well, understandably for Oscar Bernson, it's a bit of a breather, heading upwards of 165 miles an hour, and hard on the brakes he goes all the way down to 2nd gear here. Lowest apex speed of the lap at 35 miles an hour there at the apex to turn number 17, through left to turn number 18, and now into the right to 19. And for Bernson cutting as much of the apex curve there, it's been a good lap, but how good of a lap has it been is the big question. We head towards the line, and what's it going to be? It's a 54.917. It's the fastest lap of the session so far. He's got one more lap available to him. Can he go even quick here? We will find out in due course, but what a lap. An absolute monster of a lap, no doubt about it. But right now, Oscar Bernson definitely looking to be absolutely on point here, and everybody else is going to have to play some degree of catch-up in the time they have remaining. It's not going to be easy for anybody, but right now for Oscar Bernson, it's definitely looking to be the easiest job of them all, which is to be the fastest driver out there. And well, if he can put himself in pole position, he may give himself a golden opportunity to take the first win of the season. However, taking the second win of the season may be a lot harder when you do consider he would have to start from 10th place, should that come to fact, given the fact that we do have of course, the setup whereby it's the top 10 inversion. As for Matt Strand, well, Strand right now, he's currently on his final flying lap. Will he be able to squeeze it? And he's going to be very close here. I think he might just do it by about 2 to 3 seconds. Remember, when that clock strikes 10 minutes, that's it for qualifying. Nobody's allowed to do any more. If they're on a lap, it's completely disallowed, it's deleted, and their previous fastest lap is taken. Right now, all these drivers definitely eyeing up an opportunities. Adam Klanvik is your third fastest, and silver pole sitter yet to get a lap on the board as Aaron Herbert. And Herbert right now in the number 3, still trying to find some time out there in the Duckham's livery machine, and that's giving me flashbacks there to, I do believe, the Super Touring era British touring car. I'm thinking of Ford Mondeos in the early 90s that used to run the Duckham sponsorship in that colour configuration, and one man with quite a sizable moustache running one of those Ford Mondeos at one point. And for the uninitiated, that would be none other than, of course, big red number 5, Nigel Mansell, or Nige as he's known to friends. But as Herbert makes his way down the back stretch, well, right now, if he hasn't got a lap on the board by the end of this one, I think he's going to be ruined what could have been. It's a very long run. He's only got 20 seconds on the clock. I don't think he's going to make it here. I think he's going to run out of time, literally about a corner or 2 to go. Burnson has gone even faster at 54.653. Mikey Pollard, meanwhile, has just leapt to the top of the standings into third at 55.326, and that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen, because nobody else is able to make it to the timeline in time. So 10-minute strikes on the clock. That's qualifying. And, well, without further ado, as Aaron Herbert did manage to squeeze his lap in right at the end, he did manage to move his way up, in fact, by literally a microsecond to 14th or 6th in the silver class. We make our way to the grid and see how they line up for our first race of the season. So starting on pole position then for the maiden race of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup, sponsored by Energise Virtual Solutions. It's Season 1, Round number 1, and in race number 1, Oscar Burnson has taken pole position for Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing. A brilliant job there from the Golden Driver. Matt Strand joins him on the front row for Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing. It's a lockout for the team, and, well, the Norwegian driver then followed up by the Briton. It's none other than Mikey Pollard for Film BIL.NO for Sport Racing. Then we have your silver pole sitter starting for Adam Klanvik, doing a brilliant job following up from his golden teammates. The Swede will then be followed up by Sim Racing Norway's Kim Andre Bjørlund, and he does have none other than the company of, I believe, Matt Spirell starting in 6th place, and Spirell there delivering well in qualifying for HRT Nexus Racing. On row at number 4, it's the Italian star there of none other than Emma Riu, and the privateer will be joined on that row by Richard Simnell for DCW Racing Blue. Empire Motorsports, Joe Newman starts 9th. That's a team that we always love to hear about, and Joe in particular, and he's got the company of Krista Halzoy, starts 10th for Tractix Racing. From the silver driver, we then have on row number 6, Andy Jones for DCW Racing Blue, ahead of Ryan Davis at Empire Motorsport. We have none other there than Timo Gertner and Aaron Herbert on row at number 7. And behind the Drive Lounge Racing driver, it's none other than Daniel Shilcott for Tractix Racing and Glenn Gondoliers. And the Belgian from Pegasus Sim Racing is followed up by Chris Cole and none other than David Bigadite for DCW Racing Red. We then have the Italian driver Fabrizio Penzo starting 19th, ahead of the Dane of Peak Sim Racing's Casper Tunstead. And then on row number 11, it's going to be the pair of iRace Esports Nick Clevins, followed up by Ollie Pimley, Alan McCain, and then it's going to be none other than Nido Braun on row number 12, with Mark Collicott and Nicholas Gronstrom on row 13. And in your final row of the grid, ladies and gentlemen, we will have Matty Wild and Ben Sieber. So that's how they all line up. The field is set. They're all ready to go. And for the first time this season, ladies and gentlemen, come join me as we say, with regards to light, it's going to be 1, it's going to be 2, it's going to be 3, it's going to be 4, it's going to be 5. It's 5 red lights and away we go for the season opener here at Miami as our drivers roar and pour their way down towards turn number 1. And as they do, well, into the opening braking zone they come. 12 minutes ticks away and our drivers side by side into the opening corner as night descends on Miami. It's fierce, it's fast, and Matt Strand takes the lead this race, squeezes round past Gustav Bernson, and Adam Klanvik as well has moved up into third, getting ahead of Mikey Pollard as now things start to come down in the run up towards turn number 4. We've had a bit of an issue for Penzo. We'll try and look back at what's happened here. Meanwhile, Aaron Herbert has absolutely pulled his way into 10th already, started 14th. Brilliant start there from the 6th place silver driver, now to 3rd place in the class, and Chris Halsoy is right behind, and they're wondering what on earth has happened. Halsoy hasn't lost any place in class, but he's lost one overall. That's a run deep there. Halsoy running out wide, and with that, Ryan Davies sneaks his way on through. Indeed, all these drivers right now are already getting into the exchange as Nick Clemens a bit further back, squeezes his way on past David Bigadike, and Ollie Pimley finds himself in the queue here, but Pimley and Bigadike can fight each other hard. Bigadike, of course, in the all cut up pink machine, and meanwhile, we can see in front there Chris Cole getting involved with him. Oh, a bit of contact there, side by side. Bigadike versus Pimley, and we can see McCain queuing up behind, thinking about getting involved. So they roar their way all the way into a slow braking zone here. And it's going to be in turns 12, 13, 14 and 15 that we're going to see some drivers settle down as Mikey Pollard here still trying to keep Kim Bjorland beside him, and then gets ahead as Bjorland right now just manages to cut off the nose of Richard Simnor. Joe Newman there as well climbing over the curves, but Simnor really taking a long line out the corner, and everybody right now looking left, right and centre. My good lord, they're all pushing each other to the absolute limit, and now down the back straight they come, and this is where we'll now see who has opted to take a little bit less rear wing than the other, and who's got the straight line speed, because they head down towards that braking zone, heading upwards of 165 miles an hour in the clear. In a draft, they're going to be punching 170 to 175 miles an hour. You can see that Aaron Herbert, they're going defensive, puts himself in the middle of the road. Ryan Davies looking one side, Emma Review looking the other way, and in the end, Ryan Davies goes too deep. Does he keep it on the road? He does, otherwise the wall would find him, and right now the number 33 squeeze on the inside, and Review are looking for the move, but as they come through turn number 18 and 19, it's not changing between them. Davies just gets ahead for now, but you can see there the third place Silver driver looking for a move up the inside, can't quite find it and has to wait their turn. But after one lap, and what an opening lap it has been, we've got plenty more laps to come, no doubt about it. Chris Cole here fighting hard with Timo Gertner as well, and the German driver here trying to go from inside to outside, back to inside, but Cole here fighting hard in the all pink machine, but the green machine is going to hold on in the end, and well, 2 by 2 they come down to the next braking zone, no change between them, but Nick Clemens now trying to get involved as well, and the iRacing esports driver here watching on strong, but it's not coming forth, as a bit further behind Nicholas Kronstrom. Well, he's had a bit of a slow start in some respects in qualifying, but in the race he's already gained 5 places in class. And 5 overall. He's going to try and make it 6 versus Mark Collicott. As Collicott goes defensive, runs very deep. Here comes Nilo Braun. Contact between the two teammates, I believe. And as they make their way out of the corner, Braun in the end makes his way through. But I think Collicott's going to be a bit furious at that as they make the way down the first long stretch with the sweeps. And Fabrizio Penzo cues on the back of this. It's getting very nip and tuck between all these drivers right now. But who can blame them as they all pushed each other to the absolute limit. And this is in the fight for 9th through to 13th in silver. It may not be worth many points, but it's worth something to these drivers. They all head in towards turn number 11 onto the race. They're 2 by 2, but this is not Nozart. That's 3 wide, and in the end, my goodness, Ben Seaver practically been squeezed out of that, and Nicholas Gronstrom as well. Both tries their hand to really play it smart, and in the end, it is going to be side by side all the way on through as they make the way on down. Now we do have, oh my goodness, hold the phone. That's Mark Collicott who's gone round over the bump there at turn number 13 to 14. So Collicott's gone round. He gets himself pointed back in the right direction, but that's drama and not the way he's wanted it to go. Now we do have some questions in the YouTube chat with regards to what exactly has happened to none other than Matt Sperrell. We will get a replay of that to show you what happened to him, because he started very well in qualifying, but it all went backwards before he really got underway. But there's been a bit of change there, because Sperrell was right towards the front of the field at the start, as very well said there by Nick DeBeck. But we'll answer that question for both yourself and also Zened Gaming as quickly as we can. But whilst that replay is being queued up, well, our leaders right now, they've calmed down a little bit, and it does seem as though they've been able to find a way not to get into each other's way anymore, as Matt Sperrell had to toe to the pits at the start of the race. So we don't exactly have a reason for Sperrell other than that he had to tow to the pits, and since then, well, he is on a bit of a recovery drive, but he has towed right from the outset. And let's take a look back and see if we can find out what exactly happened. So this was at the very start, and I think Sperrell had a technical issue because we don't see him on the grid there, so we won't stay on that any longer, but it was a tow to the pits for Sperrell. But let's take a look back at your race start. So something went wrong for Sperrell's car, and they had to start it from the pit lane. Meanwhile, when we did go green flag racing, what a start we had, ladies and gentlemen, as we do try to get a view of the race start. There we go, at long last, it does find its way onto our pictures, and looking to the very front of the field, when they got underway, it was Strand and Berntsen, literally both having a brilliant start, but Matt Strand in the end going all in for the move from the outset, and well, he wasn't quite able to hold it later on. However, it was Strand who got ahead straight away, and then we had Klamvik trying to get all into the fight, and Mikey Pollard as well. But your leaders having a reasonable start, but there was a bit of drama further back, as we did have Fabrizio Penzo relegated all the way towards the back of the field, and then we did have Sperrell make his way out the pit lane behind. This is what happened to Penzo when he got started. So the whole field came down towards turn number 1. We've seen that several times, but we're looking out for the Italian car here. Oh my goodness, a big prang on the back there for Fabrizio Penzo, and with that we couldn't quite see who hit him on the rear, but Penzo sent spinning around, and that what put him all the way down. So he had a fine start, but in the end he was impacted, and well, that completely ruined his race start. We then come to what happened to Alan McCain and David Biggerdike in the early stages. This was down into turn number 17. They were battling side by side, I believe. Biggerdike was on the outside, McCain on the inside here. Onto the brakes they went. Oh no, that was McCain behind, so he hit Biggerdike on the rear, and I think Alan McCain just missing his braking point. And well, it goes to show you, even with ABS, it's still easy to get it wrong under braking. We had this for Andy Jones. a bit later, and this was on lap number 2, so side by side there, coming out of turn number 11, I believe, and sweeping the way, in fact, turn number 10 into 11, and into the braking zone they went, and contact there, and Jones and the all-white machine turned on around, and that was in contact with none other than, I believe, the machine of Krista Halzoy, although I may be wrong, still learning the liveries of all the cars. We had a bit of an incident for Mark Collicott only moments later, of which many of you did see. This was Collicott in that huge fight for 9th place in silver, made his way into turns 13 and 14, too much speed on entry, and it caused the rear to come loose, and that was drama for him. But we must come back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen, because we have seen plenty there with regards to moments for our drivers, but right now we've still got more time to come here as we do see them all make the way around. And well, here is a bit of battling. Adam Clanvick versus Mikey Pollard on your live pictures, and he's building up a queue. It's Clanvick with Pollard, Bjorland and Simnor all queuing up behind him as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the Ice Cold Racing powered by Max Sim Racing Machine. 174 right now, just keeping it together, but takes track limits a bit too far there, and Clanvick is going to serve a slowdown, and that's going to be served straight away on this long stretch. He's not going to be able to burn it gradually, so Clanvick is going to lose time to Pollard. Pollard will come through, so will Kim Andre Bjorland, and I suspect Richard Simnor will come through as well if he can pick up the draft. So that is going to be a bit of a situation there where Clanvick still holds the silver lead, but he won't be too happy about how he's lost it. Aaron Herbert, meanwhile, will be very happy to see Clanvick. Oh no! He won't be happy with that, because that's Herbert into the wall, and Joe Newman with him, and they go sliding together down the road, and suddenly, well, Herbert's able to survive it. Joe Newman definitely does not do so, and Emma Ryu is now all over the back of them as they make the way in towards another lap. We've still got 4 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, plus the final turn of the circuit, and right now there's drama at this point in the race, and for Aaron Herbert, he's going to go defensive here, and Emma Ryu is looking for a move. It's not going to come forward right now for the 33, but she's going to look around the outside to inside here. This is brave, and knows that Herbert's got a damaged car, and well, there goes your 33 up into 2nd place in silver and 7th overall. So brilliant work there from Ryu, and now as they make the way up towards turn number 8, it might just be an opportunity here to break away. But from there, we look back to Andy Jones, who finds himself in the fight with Joe Newman. Jones trying to recover some places. Newman also trying to get himself back in gear. Both drivers damaged, as we have had something happen to another Ollie Pimley and Ryan Davies. We'll try and get a replay of that when we can, because they both had to be towed to the pits. I think they've both been involved in an incident together, but we haven't seen that on circuit. Up towards the front of the field, this is Pollard versus Kim Andre Bjorland. These two have literally been fighting each other non-stop here. You can't blame them for it, because they are pushing each other to the absolute limit. And whilst these drivers coming through right now, it's still too wide there as they come through the apex. But where's it going to be when all is said and done? That's what we're wondering between these drivers, because right now, well, it does seem as though they're both keeping each other absolutely honest. But I suspect it's going to be a question of when, not if, we might start to see a little bit of elbows out between the two of them. Well, we can't blame them for the fact they are racing so hard here, but naturally patience will wear out over time, and also race time wears out. That's perhaps the bigger quotient here, is the fact they've only got 3 minutes to go, so they've got this lap plus potentially another 2, depending on how quick the leaders are. We can see some theories there from you in the YouTube chat regards to Spirell's car. Some saying that it may have been under-fueled with qualifying fuel, others saying it needs to go to the weighbridge because how quick it was in qualified. I do love the good old bit of banter there regards to the weighbridge, no doubt about it. But as we do see our gold trio fighting, well, suddenly there's a silver driver on the back of this. This is Clanvick, and he'll be happy to be there. Meanwhile, there's a big queue growing here for 2nd place in silver, and here comes Glenn Grondelez, and the Belgian driver right now looking around the outside of Aaron Herbert, who's still trying to hold it together, but in a car that's heavily damaged, you can see he's having trouble breaking it in a straight line. That is not a nice place to be in that number 3. The 99 there of Grondelez is trying to make the move, can't quite do it at the moment, and we ride on board here the front bumper as he makes his way out to turns 3 and 4. Now for the Pegasus Sim Racing team, what he's got to be thinking about here is essentially, right, understand that Herbert has taken damage. You can see it. Look on the left-hand side of the car from this perspective, and you'll see some of the graze marks towards the rear where the car ends up sliding along the wall. So he has to think, if I can't make the move happen right now, I need to stay as close as possible, because if he does, and he won't, if he does that, he goes all the way round on the brake in there into turn number 8, and Grondelez goes spinning off the road, and well, thankfully it's a runoff area there and not a wall. That's going to relegate him all the way down, and Matt Sproul's just passed him as well. So Sproul on a mission to recover here and doing a very good job job of it right now as they make the way on through. But what we were trying to say was he could stay close enough and then slipstream his way past. But now that is definitely a part of the history, and it's not going to be an opportunity anymore. Meanwhile, Christian Houseaway up the inside here of Cole. That's going to be a straightforward move. I don't think Cole went to fight that too hard. I think the DCW racing driver here just taking his time as they come through 12. But he's going to fight it back now into 13. But I think Christian Houseaway, they're just finding, because they're on two different lines, they will naturally segue back and forth together. No change between them. Oh, that's not right. Comes down off the apex to turn 15, and the rear of the car comes loose. Don't reverse it, Krista. No further. Surely the whole field's trying to come through. That's not good. That's going to cause a blockage on the road. But understandably, he wants to get racing. But, well, in the end, a very difficult one. I think the little bit of patience that he had was gradually wearing out because he wants to get the places back. Thankfully, it didn't end up in tears. But my goodness, it could have been very wrong, as there goes the front of the car, or the front hood. It goes flying off, and Chris Dalzo's race now goes backwards. But thankfully, he's got another race after this one to try and make a bit of recovery from it. But back to your front of the field, and with that, they're on to a 7th and final lap, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, it does seem as though Oscar Bernson doing a fantastic job here of keeping everything together as best as he can. However, how much longer can he hold on for? That is the challenge that confronts him as he makes his way on around, because he does have Matt Strand close behind. But remember, they are teammates, these two. So therefore, the last thing they want to do is step on each other's toes. Alternatively, they might want to do so because they might have a little bit of a pecking order. But the number one rule of racing, as many of you will know, is firstly, win the race. The second rule of racing is don't take out your teammate. Beat your teammate, but don't beat them literally. And as they make their way onwards, well, Bernson right now keeping it behind just about as they come towards the halfway point of this lap, going in towards turn number 11. Further down the order, things have calmed down to a degree in what was the battle for 9th through to 13th in the silver class. Matt Sparrow has had another incident that's relegated even further down, I'm hearing in my ear. But meanwhile, we were going to get some replays of what happened to Ryan Davies and Ollie Pimley that sent them to the pits. Well, Davies is still in the pit lane being repaired. Pimley has come back out, but is a lap down. But I think we're going to leave that now and stay transfixed to our leaders, because Bernson and Strand are pushing each other every step of the way. As you can see then, the body language of the cars, both drivers here, absolutely possessed. It's absolutely demonic how quick and fast they're running to those walls and how tight they're getting towards the walls as well. It's not easy to get a lap around here right. They're perfecting the laps, I can tell you that. And Bernson on the previous lap had the fastest lap of everybody, a 55.00 to Strand's 55.02. It's hundredths that separates the two of them, if thousands. And through turn 17 they come. But exiting the corner right now, there's not far to go. As the checker flag gets ready to wave, well, for the first time this season, the flag will fall and victory will go to a driver. And here it goes to Oscar Bernson, who takes victory over one in the gold class and leads home a 1-2 for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Max Sim Racing ahead of teammate Matt Strand. It'll then be Mikey Pollard who holds on to the final overall podium, and with it, gold third place ahead of Richardson or Kim-Andre Bjurland. And then Adam Klanvik becomes your first silver winner of the series, ahead of Aaron Herbert, who then held on and fought back to second ahead of Emma Ryu. And, well, Ryu there doing a great job to be on the podium ahead of Chris Cole. Andy Jones was between the two of them, and then we did have Timo Gartner, who in the end finished just outside the top 10, finishing 11th best of the rest there, but 5th in the silver class behind Chris Cole. Great effort from him. We've got a couple more drives to finish this race, including Nido Braun there, who in making his way past none other than Chris Houseaway, but missing out under race conditions. So he'll take 19th overall, 10th in silver, head of Ben Sieber. And then we do have a couple more drives coming through, including Matt Sparrow, Matty Wild, and Nick Clewins, who will be one of your penultimate finishers of this race. Nicholas Gronstrom has already come into the pit, so he's going to be relegated down a position, and it will be Mark Collicott then, who will be your last lead lap finisher here in what will be 24th place as promoted, with Nicholas Gronstrom being demoted to 25th by entering the pits right at the end. But what a race, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, a way to open up proceedings here in the Race by Wire Porsche Cup Season 1. And, well, the good news is we've got even more of it to come, because we've only got a minute before we go racing again. So therefore, if you haven't had the chance yet to take a breather and to grab yourself a bit of liquid refreshment, we definitely recommend you do so. And don't worry about adjusting your TV screen, because that's how dark it is here as we look around the Miami circuit. And therefore, that gives us a bit of an opportunity to rest some of the cameras, albeit there you can see now with some of the pit lighting, the fact that this circuit is not completely dark. But what a race. And as we very briefly bring you those race results, I do believe, there they are. You can see your top 10 of Oscar Bernson ahead of Matt Strand and Mikey Pollard. That was your top 3 in gold, with Richard Simnott and Kim-Andre Bjurland completing the top 5. Now it's Adam Klanvik, your silver winner in 6th, ahead of Aaron Herbert, the runner-up in silver, and third place silver driver there, the priority of Emma Ryu. 2, rounding off the top 8. Andy Jones was 9th, and Chris Cole completed your top 10. And for Chris Cole, that means he will be on pole position for race number 2, the 30-minute feature. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, the results go away. It is time to go racing again here at Miami. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid then for the second and final time today, this is how they'll all line up for the 30-minute feature of round 1 of season 1 of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup, sponsored by Energise Virtual Solutions. Chris Cole takes the top 10 inverted pole position there. Well done to the silver pole sitter ahead of gold pole sitter Andy Jones. The DCW Racing blue driver will be followed up by none other than Emma Ryu. The privateer then being joined on the second row by the fellow silver driver of Drive Lounge Racing's Aaron Herbert. Adam Klamvik, winner of silver class in race number 1, starts 5th for Ice Cold Racing powered by Max Sim Racing, head of Sim Racing Norway's Kim Andre Bjørlum. Richard Simnor starts this one in 7th for DCW Racing Blue, ahead of Mikey Pollard for Film BIL.no, Firel Sport Racing. And your top 10 is completed by Matt Strand for Ice Cold Racing powered by Max Sim Racing and his teammate Oscar Bernson. But all the field's very eager to get into position, ladies and gents, but I don't think we'll have time to go through the full grid here, I'm afraid, as they all put themselves into position. We can see none other there than Timo Gertner on 11th place. But with that, we're going to have to stop going through the grid because the lights are already going on. That's how quick they want to go racing. And without further ado, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And it's lights out and away we go then for our second and final race of the day as they roar their way down towards turn number 1. And as they do, it's a good start there from Cole, but Andy Jones immediately says no and dives up the inside. As he does, we can see that Herbert and Ryu are still side by side as they clear, but contact there, Herbert goes round. Was there a touch? I'm not sure. I get the feeling there might have been, but the whole field avoids the wayward Ducham's machine. And as they make the way on through turn number 3, it's going to be a long relegation down the order for Aaron Herbert, and he's got a lot of work to go. But it's not over yet, because we've got plenty of fighting in amongst the field, and this is a 30-minute race, of course, so it'll be 2.5 times the distance. And with that, it means there's a lot more strategy involved here, albeit no pit stops. But our drivers will need to protect the tyres on these cars, because normally the tyres don't last more than 20 minutes at full steam. There's still plenty of fighting going on. It's Krista Houseway. They're fighting side by side with David Biggerdike, and well, that's a rinse and repeat of race number 1. You're getting deja vu, so am I. But these two fight each other again as they come down the first long stretch through turn 8 up towards 11. They go. Houseway and Biggerdike still side by side. Clemens also getting involved. And Nick Clemens trying to make it 3 wide here, albeit it's 2 wide between Clemens and Biggerdike as Matt Sproul watches on from behind. They all come roaring into that braking zone here. Who's going to make a potential move? I think Biggerdike in the end will be clear or thereabouts. No, Clemens goes in, but there's a car around in front. Who's that who's got it wrong? Is that Timo Gertner? Yes, it is Gertner who's gone around. And well, the Sprite machine finally gets itself back in the order, but not about being shaken up. And I presume he's feeling quite fizzy inside the car right now. And well, hopefully he's able to calm it down. But as he gets it back together as quickly as he can, of course, those tyres will be a little bit hotter than expected, and they will have a flat patch on them when he's had the slide. But, oh, there's been a big incident in front of him. That's at turn number 14. That is Biggerdike and Sieber coming together, and I believe Fabrizio Pinzo has also been caught up in that one. But meanwhile, away from all the chaos at the very front of the field, Andy Jones is leading this race ahead of Chris Cole, and then Emma Ryu and Adam Klamvik complete your top 4. It's the gold drive being followed by the 3 silvers here, and right now that push is definitely coming to shove when it comes to Jones being pushed along here by the silver stars behind. Matt Strand, he's had a decent start. He's gone from 9th to 5th very quickly, and Strand right now on a mission to move forward. But here comes Adam Klamvik looking for second place in silver, looking for third overall, trying to go around the outside, but he can't find it in the 174. So side by side they enter the quarter, but in the end Klamvik will have to settle back into where he was. But what a start of the race it has been. A lot of drama as well. We're going to get a replay of some of the big moments on the start of the race, which we will do so in due course. And well, we won't wait as long this time, hopefully, but it all comes down to how much action we have on circuit. Speaking of which, right now we do have Oscar Bernson here. Well, he's moved up 3 places since the start. He has caught up to the back of Richard Simnor, and right now he's trying to go for 2 for 2 here today in the 35, albeit he'd like for his teammate Matt Strand to also be right up there with him, and Strand's had the best start of everybody, moving up to 4th place from 9th on the grid. And well, Nick Clemens as well has gained 10 places since the start over. He started 23rd, he's up to 13th, but not without being involved in all the chaos behind, although that's not to say that he was at fault for it. But looking further back, Krista Houseway He is fighting hard here with Alan McCain as they fight over 7th place in silver. Ryan Davies is on the back of them. Davies, who started all the way down in 28th place, the last of our starters. He's had to try and make his way on through, and he's doing so very gradually as we can see them under braking. That's going to be how at the inside of McCain, and he'll take the place as Davies goes to the inside, and in the end a little bit too opportunistic perhaps. I think he would argue he was closed off there by McCain, but it means that Ryan Davies right now falls back down the order as suddenly Collicott, Gertner and Herbert are all together here, and Ryan Davies right now hits the wall. My good lord, that's a nasty shunt there through turn number 13. That's the last thing you want to do while these cars, because that will absolutely damage the bodywork of the suspension with it. Somehow he survives that, but for what was there, Ryan Davies, I think right now a little bit of red mist is coming in, but he'll want to get rid of that as quickly as he can. But down the back straight, and Aaron Herbert and Timo Gertner and Collicott are all following in the tow. But will anybody go for the move here, as Herbert right now definitely thinking about it, and he goes from one side to the other as Gertner going defensive. Herbert says, no you don't, I'm going to take the place off of you, and he takes the place back. Remember, he had that spin right at the start of the race, but he now moves up another position and continues his charge. But as we complete our second lap, we go on to lap number 3. It may be Andy Jones is leading ahead of Emma Ryu and Matt Strand. Hold up a second. Chris Cole's fallen down the order, so we've had a change of silver leader. Ryu has moved all the way up into second place. So that's a surprise and a welcome on there if you're a fan of the 33 driver. And indeed, we had a bit of change up, but all these drivers right now seemingly get themselves in order. But we need to take a look back in time to some of the chaos that happened early on, starting with what happened to Timo Gertner in the early stages of the lap 1. So this was coming down, I believe, in towards turn number 11 at the time. Here was the Sprite machine. Onto the brakes it went. And as it did so, contact there. Couldn't quite see the car, but that led to a queue of cars. And that's how we had Chris Halsoy and Alan McCain all getting caught up. So that explains that incident initially. But then we had this for Halsoy and McCain. So this is where it first went wrong, we believe. That was them coming together, so this was essentially a repeat of the replay we just had. We're just seeing them coming into the scene of the incident where Gertner had already gone around and they had to slam on the brakes. But then what happened to David Biggerdyke's the question. The number 13 driver, unlucky for some, he's going to have a bit of bad luck here, surely, because came out the corner, went on to the brakes into turn number 14. He was fine there. So where did it go? Oh, there was a car in front that got wrong, and that is what saw Biggerdyke and then got collected, and that is why we also saw there Ben Sieber and Fabrizio Penzo all getting caught up in towards turn number 16. So that explains their story. And then we had this, of course, for Ryan Davies on lap number 2. At the very same corner, he was battling hard here, looked up the inside of Alan McCain, he was trying to go for the move, and in the end, well, it was a swap to the inside, and was squeezed there, and in the end, not quite able to make it happen. We had this for Nido Braun and Casper Tunstead on lap number 3. We're looking at Nido Braun in particular. And as he made his way in towards turn number 8, Carl looking very unsettled there. And makes a bit of a contact. Oh, there was a car wrong. So everyone in the end was queuing up into an instant. But Nido Braun came into it at the worst possible time and tapped the rear of the 104 there. And that being the car of none other than, I do believe, we do have a 104 on the grid. I don't think we have. I think I'm misreading the number. But I think that was Nick Clewins and Casper Tunstead collected as well. And then they all got themselves back together. So back to your live racing we go, because there's plenty of replay footage, but there's also plenty of racing going on. We do need to understand how our silver lead has changed hands, and in fact, we are going to get one quick replay of that, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Emma Ryu taking the lead of silver class. How did this happen? It works. Chris Cole making the complete ham sandwich of turn number 11, and then through 12 into 13, Ryu did not back off there, went all in, and brilliant work from Emma, moving up that position, and then in Chris Cole making a mess of turn number 14 into 15, so Cole in the end outer line as a result of Ryu's pass, and well, that enabled Ryu just to break away. But here comes Matt Strand back on your live pictures, who's going to try and take second place overall now off of Ryu in towards turn number 11, and does so quite straightforward there, because I think Ryu's got their head screwed more onto facing off against Chris Cole should he get a bit closer. But what we're now starting to see, as we look at your live pictures here, and keep in mind, we're not even a third of the way into this race yet. It feels though it's been a much longer race. That's because of the length of the laps here, but we are seeing so much brilliant action in the early stages. As my good lord, Matt Sprell there, he loves going up on two wheels through turn 13 into 14. I'll tell you one thing, if he had a nickname, I'd give him the nickname there of Stuntman, because he's definitely right now trying to put on an absolute theatric show, and well, somehow his Porsche is keeping it together. They must have reinforced the suspension of that car, I suspect, and I wonder if that's why it got called into the pit lane off of the grid, because the stewards might have seen the fact the car's had a bit more suspension padding added to it. But hypotheses aside, right now, what we can see in the here and now for certainty is that it's a fight between Joe Newman and the 997 and Mikey Pollard. Newman got up the inside there to take 6th place in gold, 8th overall. And then And right now, definitely getting the bit between his teeth. He's baring his fangs. And up towards turn of 1 they go once again. But Sproul and Grondeliers, they're all over the back of this 2 silver drivers, with Sproul being the 3rd place driver and Grondeliers being on his case. And we do have a 2.5 second gap back to Adam Klamvik, who, after leading a good portion of the day already, right now he finds himself having to make a bit of a chase here. He's not quite on the pace of the top 4 of silver right now, but something tells me there's some damage on that 174 car. And it's not a completely clean car at the moment. That's not to say he's been at fault for it, but I think he's picked up some damage, and that's why he's lost pace. As meanwhile, that's a big move up the inside into turn 8 there from Aaron Herbert. When that's not turn 8, my apologies, that's turns 4, 5, 6, and 7. But Aaron Herbert, they're coming in like a ballistic missile. And, well, definitely right now hailing for the United Kingdom to get to the USCB Intercontinental at that rate. And, well, Aaron Herbert makes that move on Ollie Pimbley. I don't think Pimbley saw that coming, but my good Lord, Aaron, that was absolutely phenomenal. The camera angle made it look even more dramatic. And Aaron Herbert takes third place back in silver, 14th overall, but he is hustling some here. He's trying to break away from Pimbley and Grunstrom, knowing that right now his target is to finish on the podium of silver if he can. He's got the pace for it, but he's not had the luck, as Mikey Pollard and also Kim-Andre Bjørlund, I believe they both had a bit of coming together at turn number 11, and now I do believe there's a little bit of a history between some of the DCW Racing stroke the Film BIL drivers and Kim-Andre Bjørlund in other series where they've had contact moments. I don't think that's carried over into this season of racing, but it's always a little bit of trivia there. They have not been made new. They've not been making introductions today. They're not strangers to each other, and I think the two of them ended up together. We're not quite sure how, whether they made contact or not. We are going to get a replay of that shortly to explain, but definitely they're intriguing to see them parked up together at turn number 11, albeit neither driver getting out the car there, thankfully, and they're both able to carry on racing. But at long last, we do get to the end of our opening 10 minutes, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but it goes to show you the fact we had so much racing action as we finally get to lap number 6, and with it 10 minutes to racing complete, and it's not over yet because Joe Newman has now got 2 silver drivers trying to take holes at him, and well, Newman does hold the position, or does he, as that's going to be Sproul trying to go around outside to inside. Sproul there up onto 2 wheels again, taking all the apex curve in the world, and through turn number 3, Sproul returns to 7th place. My goodness, Matt Sproul right now, I can tell you one thing, is there are going to be any class change as a result of this round. Well, he's definitely making the case for himself to be moved to gold here. That's not saying it's going to happen. I'm not recommending it, but right now he's putting on a gold star performance, as we can see Joe Newman being absolutely swarmed here by Glenn Grondeliers as well. The Pegasus sim racing driver pushing him hard, but it's not to any avail at the moment because the 4th place silver driver wants to get clear of Newman. He wants to go hunting after Sproul, but Sproul has got other ideas, and so has Newman. But with that, we've got ideas to take a look back at what happened to Pollard and Bjørlund on lap number 5, and here's the replay. So this was Mikey Pollard firstly, making his way down into the braking zone here for turn 11, and as he did so on the distant camera view, made his way, oh goodness me, very late on the brakes, and in the end way too late, and went straight into the rear of Kim-Andre Bjørlund. So Bjørlund was innocently taking the apex, and for Mikey Pollard, that's why he waited for a period of time, and in the end, I think Bjørlund wanted Pollard to go, and well, the two drivers had to settle the differences, but that explains what happened. Mikey Pollard just missed his braking point. Can we get an on board of that? Yes, we can. Let's listen in. You can hear he actually put the brakes on initially, but then thought he had a bit more braking space to work with, and I think that caught him out in the end, and that led to the contact. Unfortunate for Mikey Pollard there, but I think he's going to be getting out the car after this one and walking along to the garage of Kim-Andre Bjørlund and saying, look, I know it was me, there's no other way about it. But of the two of them right now, they continue to try and make up their places as we look back all the way to 3rd place. And it's Richard Simnor right now, who has also found his way ahead of the silver leaders in the Taco Bell machine. And well, he's definitely making me hungry. I don't know about you, but behind is your silver leader of Emma Ryu as she makes her way through turn 3 and in towards 4. Cole is still there with Ryu, so therefore it's not as though it's a one-way run for the win of the silver class here. It's not quite the Adam Klamvik show we saw of race number 1. And well, this will be interesting then, because these drivers right now will know they've still got a very long way to go, and they're definitely pushing the tyres absolutely hard as we say hello there to Alex Saunders 92, who says that Sproul is flying in there, and also Ross Lawrence saying the same. And Matt Sproul right now, well, to put you in the frame of mind, Sproul's last lap was a 56.34. Emma Ryu, the leader of the silver class, a 57.18. That is 8 eight tenths being gained there by Sproul. If he keeps up this pace, he will be catching up to the silver leaders within the next 5 to 6 laps. He's not too far behind. He does have the best part of 4 seconds separating himself from Cole. That's the target, firstly. And if Ryu and Cole start to fight, I think that gap's going to come down even quicker. But Joe Newman is still fighting with Glenn Gondoliers, as Gondoliers fighting very hard to fight his way through. You've got to respect the man. He's absolutely biting at Joe Newman. Oh, that's a bit of a brave lunge. Well, I don't think Newman's going to be too happy about that. That's a lunge, which is pretty much a lunge out of frustration there. Gondoliers did make it. Newman, to be fair, had to open the steering wheel for that at turn number 16. Otherwise, the two of them would have been in pieces coming off of the apex there. I think Gondoliers wanted to go for it and saw there was a space to do so, and then realised midway through his braking point, actually, that's probably not the corner to go for it. But it's had the right effect, and therefore will celebrate it as they battle side by side into turn 70. You can see Newman turning in there a little bit. He wants space to race, and Newman right now, well, I think we're going to see a classic Joe Newman here, which is going to go for everything. Flashlights on here. That's the headlights. Newman is not happy about the way Gondoliers has played this one. Understandably so. If I was in Newman's shoes, albeit I'm a much less experienced racer by comparison to Joe Newman, I'll tell you one thing, I would share the Empire Motorsport drivers' frustrations. However, they have kept it clean. Newman's had to be very condescending in order to be able to enable this to happen. Gondoliers has definitely gone all in for it. It's one of those proverbial lick the stamp and send it moments, and Newman right now needs to come back. Brilliant fighting between the two of them, albeit Newman right now, I think the next time they go side by side, he may be a little bit less obliging as he looks to the inside of turn number 8, but recognises how long the apex is there. There's a car on the apex as well. That's Chris Cole. Cole is round, and suddenly the pressure for the leader, Silver Class, has been abated, and Emma Ryu right now will be running away if Sproul can't catch up, and Chris Cole's fallen all the way down. And it's right into the company of Aaron Herbert. So Herbert's caught back up. But what exactly happened to Chris Cole? That's the question. We're going to replay that as soon as we can. But Herbert right now just squeezes his way through. And Ollie Pimley's catching up to the back of this. Of the real-life photographer as well for motorsport. Ollie Pimley, lovely chap in person. And a very fair racer out of the circuit. And Pimley wants to get a bit closer. He doesn't want to just be taking pictures of this fight in front of him. And Herbert in the end will fight with Mikey Pollard there. And Pollard right now being swallowed up by Herbert. And I think Pollard might have just broken a bit too early. Keep in mind that Pollard does have significant damage on the front of his car. And that will be holding him back in the film BIL machine. But as they come out of turns at 13, 14 towards 15, 16, right now Aaron Herbert here pushing hard, a bit too hard perhaps, grazes the wall, but in the end he's able to get away with it that time. But what exactly sent Chris Cole all the way down the order? Here's the replay. So this was Cole making his way through turn 6, 7 in towards 8. Went out very wide there, and as he did so, went to the exit road and, well, taking that curbing on the outside, less grip on the rear right tyre, tried to overturn the car while slowing it down. And, well, unfortunately, two wrongs do not make a right. They make it even bigger wrong, and suddenly by going that deep and losing grip on the rear right tyre and having to overturn on the steering wheel, well, the rear of the car just did not have any grip left. Oh, my good Lord. And that was contact there with none other than Mikey Pollard. So that explains how Pollard then was swallowed up by Aaron Herbert at the end of the long run down towards turn number 11. But we come back to your live racing. We are at the halfway point of this race, and now this is where we enter a bit of unknown territory for the first time this season, because keep in mind the first race of the day was a 12-minute sprint. In that race, you can go all in on the tyres. You can be absolutely aggressive. 30 minutes, the tyres will not last if you're pushing them every single lap. So we're going to have to start to see now, does anybody lose pace? Does anybody start to gain because they've been tyre saving? That's one of the big conundrums. We expect everyone's got enough fuel to get to the end, or we would hope so. We don't want to see anybody having underfueled, but it has happened in these types of races before, where a driver doesn't expect there to be one more lap than there is. But right now, Richard Simnor says there's one more place right in front of him. He goes up the inside there of Oscar Benson, and, well, Benson's still allowed to coexist. That's very close for turn number 12, and Benson right now has to fall back. But fighting hard here is number 35 driver. He wants that place back, and meanwhile Emma Ryu is on the back of this, but he's being closed up to by Matt Sproul. Sproul is closing at half a second a lap. They have got enough time for Sproul to get close, but here we go down the back straight, and Benson right now making his way on past, and I think saying that he wants to clear the Taco Bell machine before the next braking zone. However, Simnor's still on that inside line. He will have the ability, if he wants to lunge it under braking here to defend, but how much confidence does he have in the brakes? How much tyre life does he want to sacrifice here? And the answer is he wants to sacrifice some as they go all in. Bit of contact between them, but Simnor does hold the place now as he grazes the exit wall there. Little tap, still get away with that quite comfortably. It'll just take some paint off the car. Ryu, meanwhile, flashing their headlights behind, I think, to try and say to both drivers, Look, if you're going to fight, can you please get a move on? Because I kind of don't want to be losing race time here. And right now, being very patient. As we can see, Simnot still on the inside. Burnson around the outside to inside here. They're too wide onto the start of lap number 10. Will they be too wide all the way through it is the question. And the answer is going to be surely not. Someone's got to give way at some point, but they're still rubbing as they make the way through 4 and now in towards 5, 6 and 7. This is a very fast sequence of corners. Someone's got to back off here. Neither driver wants to back off. They're still going to fight each other, but Simnot does have to let go in the end, and Oscar Burnson does move back into third place. But what a battle. The problem is for Simnor now, he has fallen off of the racing line. So with Burnson going a bit deep into 8, he will get the time back. And it's a long run now all the way up towards turn number 11. But both drivers comprise each other's lines. And already Emery on that sequence of corners alone has lost 1.5 seconds. Sporel is catching up to this very quickly. And so it's Glenn Blondereres, who right now is only 2.2 seconds further adrift. So this fighting is costing the silver leader the opportunity to feel very safe at the front of the field. And well, here is Glenn Blondereres, who's still got the big question mark of can he clear Joe Newman, and Joe Newman might be behind him. I don't think for long, however, is what Newman's trying to say, because the Pegasus Sim Racing drive goes very deep there into 11. Here comes Newman looking around the outside. These two actually fight each other. If we could put bet on a rivalry that's going to last the season, I think this is one of them, because these two are absolutely fighting each other right now as if it's a season finale. But I can't blame them. We're absolutely loving it here in the content booth. And I'm sure you guys and girls at home are as well. As Adam Klamvik queues up on the back of this, I think he's saying right now, can you two politely get a room, please, rather than keep fighting in front of me? But as they make their way down the back stretch, we do have a yellow flag there. That's a slow down the time and tower for Ryan Davies, who has recently made his way up a couple more places, but I suspect he's cut some track limits at some point, so he's going to have to lose time here down the back stretch. But as he does burn that slowdown, which otherwise will be upgraded to a stop-and-go penalty in the pit lane. Well, Joe Newman right now battling with Glenn Blondereres as they come out of turn at number 17, and Clamdick queuing up behind, but Newman gets back ahead for a brief moment in time. There's some absolutely brilliant fighting between all these drivers, but with all that fighting, we have had some difficulty for some other drivers, including Casper Tunstead and Aaron Herbert, who've fallen further down the order. But from the racing here, we look a bit further back, as we do have the fight for 9th place in silver ongoing. They're chased after Kim Andre Bjørlund, who's definitely in a wounded Porsche 992.2 right now, given the contact from Mikey Pollard earlier on. But McCain, Gertner and Grundstrom are all together, separated by half a second from car to car, and they're all keeping each other firmly in one another's sights. And understandably, I think at this point, trying to push each other to see who can be made to go to a breaking point, and not where you go on the anchors, but more to get it wrong under pressure. But nobody is wilting under said pressure at the moment, so we will wait and see with bated breath. But from them, back to the very front of the field, here is Andy Jones. He's leading, and right now that lead is looking a bit vulnerable, because last lap for Jones was a 55.84. The man behind him closed up by a whole 7 tenths. It was none other than Matt Strand, who's up into second place, and the Ice Cold Racing powered by Max Sim Racing Machine is building a very quick tide here, and Strand is trying to go for the win with Oscar Burnson, his teammate, a further 6 seconds behind, but on the clear and also trying to catch up. So it's getting a bit interesting. They are finding some traffic as well in front of them, and the car in front of them that they are seeing first, well, the cars they've seen first, we should say, have been Nick Clemens and Ben Sieber. Next up will be Casper Tunstead, but they've got quite some time before they get to Tunstead, so therefore they'll be feeling as though they're now in the clear air for a while. And they may come back into what is a bit more traffic towards the very end of the race. Oscar Burnson then, 6 seconds back, there he is, making his way down the back stretch, the third place man, albeit of course with nighttime and effects, not too much street lighting around here. We can't really see the cars until they come past our cameras. We do apologise for that, but we'll keep you apprised of where everybody is as best as we can. And Richard Simnor 2 seconds further back, but Simnor right now definitely finding himself right in the thick of fighting with Silvers, rather than the opportunity to fight with Burnson again after that brilliant side-by-side battle between the two of them. But Oscar Burnson was able to get ahead at the start of this lap, and that's why he was able to break away. Delairs and Klamvik, they're here together, still queuing up behind Joe Newman. Newman is not going anywhere, and as we ride on board here with Adam Klamvik, well, what can the Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing driver do in order to be able to get past Gondoliers? Because the Swede, he's definitely a quick driver, but I think in order to make his way all the way up into this 9th place spot, he's had to use a lot of the potential of the car, particularly when it comes to tyre life. And Glenn Gondoliers has also demonstrated the fact he may not have been the fastest in qualifying, but he's definitely a very quick driver under race conditions, and in these longer races, he seems to have a lot of confidence in the car. And that's the thing about these feature races as well. They test the drive's consistency over a slightly longer length compared to the 12-minute sprint. The sprint requires its own consistency. You've essentially got to be pumping out qualifying laps for 12 minutes, whereas here in the 30-minute race, it's less about the qualifying lap and more about the 90% pace lap and how you manage the car in order to achieve those laps. So it's all different here in this one, and that's why we're seeing different drivers be a bit stronger or weaker than others. But as Canvic gets closer to Gondoliers under braking, the concertina effect, of course, exaggerating that closure rate. Right now, it's definitely going to be one of those races whereby I think he's going to have to poke and probe until he go to mistake out his rival, as Ollie Pimley clears Aaron Herbert, who I think has taken a bit of a deep run into turn 11. Some sparks fly there. There's a small graze against the wall. Whilst he's grazed the walls, Alan McCain, meanwhile, has had something far worse happen to him. Here he is, going quite slowly into turn 11. What exactly has sent Alan McCain down the order? Here's a replay to explain. So this was McCain making his way through turns 4 through to 8. Went into 8, carried way too much speed into the corner. And something tells me the rear of that car's letting go. Yes, it is. And in the end, being passed out on the inside by Timo Gertner, the Sprite machine, making it impossible for McCain to close the apex down. And in the end, he needed to turn the steering wheel more to make the corner. But that's where the folly lied. And that's what sent the iRacing esports driver all the way round. But back to your live race to become, and as we do, we're in good time as well, because your leaders, they've come very close to each other here on lap number 13, with 6.5 minutes to go plus the final lap. It's Andy Jones and Matt Strand here, pushing each other to the absolute limit. Strand right now, the faster of the two, drives by a considerable margin. However, it's one thing to catch, as the late great Murray Walker once said, it's another thing to pass. And the student driver machine right now from Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing 9, that there's going to be a challenge in front of him, and he's got to get this absolutely right if he wants to make this work. Thankfully, he's got a long stretch of road here with some curves thrown into it, so he'll pick up the toe. He's going to be able to look around the outside here as Jones goes defensive. On to the brakes, they get ready to duel, but will it be Jones still ahead? No, it's not. Jones is outpaced to the braking zone there by Strand, and Strand takes the lead this race. And, well, Matt Strand's there, making his way through. He'll be very happy with that. But something tells me that Andy Jones might be thinking about the bigger picture and making sure that a second place day doesn't go astray, rather than trying to throw everything at this to take the win, given the fact that we have seen Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing, have been very strong, and Oscar Bernson is only 5.5 seconds back. But we'll wait and see, because Jones, to be fair, is a very tactical driver. He doesn't normally just give up places without a reason. And given the fact that we're making the way onto a long back stretch, I wonder if he's going to try and mount a counter-attack down towards turn 17 on this lap. But here's Emma Ryu, and right now we can see the 33, the silver leader, pull into the inside wall. Richard Simler looking around the outside. A bit of contact between the two of them, but Matt Sproul's going to try and make this free wide here. Sproul's caught up. Now, where does he go for this? Does he try to add to the problem, or does he play the patience game here and let the gold and silver driver fight it out? He's going to play the patience game. Into the corner they go. Simler runs a bit deep, but he still survives the corner, and they're still too wide then as we ride on board with Sproul. The HRT Nexus racing driver here, while the fan favourites. There's contact there between himself and Ryu. That does send Ryu wide. No, goodness me, how big a bit of contact was it? It looked like contact for the on board. It's not over yet. They're side by side into turn number 1, but it's going to be Sproul up the inside there. Ryu tries to go for the switchback, and now in towards turns 2, 3 and 4 they go. This isn't over yet, because Sproul now has the fact he's got the dirty out of Simler in front of him, and he's got Ryu right behind. And I only think the 33 drive is going to go even quicker now as they come up towards turns 6 and 7. Left, right, left they come, and right now for Sproul, well, he's got into the position he's wanted. He's been coveting this for some time after starting from the pit lane in race number 1. Indeed, race number 1 was nowhere to be seen, but he goes a bit deep on the corner. Here comes Ryu up the inside, so Ryu goes to the move. It's a very brave move. It's a forceful move as well. There's a small rub between them, but it's no different from the rub that happened at the end of the previous lap. So making the way down the first long stretch now through the sweeping bend. Sproul still ahead by a nose or so, then finding a car ahead, and as they make the way through, meanwhile, there's a battle between Jones and Strand for the lead of the race through 11 into 12. That's Jones on the outside in the white machine versus the yellow machine of Strand. Now to the inside he goes, into the inside again, into turns 13 and 15. He goes deep, he cuts the corner. That's going to be a yellow flag. Jones will have to give the place back coming down the back straight. He immediately pulls over. He does not want to lose any more speed, and therefore he can stay in the slipstream of Strand. Strand tucks in behind immediately and says to Jones, I know what you're doing. I'm going to make this a nightmare for you. I'm going to pick up all the speed off the back of you. Sproul, meanwhile, is ahead of Ryu after they've cleared turns 13 through to 16. Sproul's ahead for now, but 3 tenths is the delta between the two cars, but Sproul is pulling away in the draft of Simnot, and I think he's also got less rear wheel on the car, and that's giving him the option to break away. So Strand is back into the lead then overall in the gold class, as Jones has still got to burn that slowdown. He finally has, but he does fall to 1.5 seconds behind as here goes Ryu. Whoa! That's a completely late moment under braking there from Emma Ryu, and well, dropping all the way down through everything at this, but I think in the end, what was looking to be certainly a fight for the lead has now turned into a fall to fourth place. Well, the Italian driver there went for it, missed their braking point, and understandably was able to avoid contact with the drivers, but that would have been a bit of a hair raise there, as meanwhile, Simnor and Sparrow are now fighting for fourth place. You couldn't make this up. Richard Simnor right as fall! Oh my good lord, and Sparrow's into the wall! He's into the wall now as Adam Clanvig somehow makes his way to the lead of this race. He's not going to believe it. I can't believe it. Clanvig suddenly comes on through, Sparrow's around. Krista Halsoy right now has cleared him as well, and Sparrow's getting himself back up to speed, and suddenly the driver who tried to dive past him on the previous lap is right there with him again, diving up the inside into turns 7 and 8. It's Ryu on the inside of Sproul as they come through into the left-hander of 8 now, and goodness me, Matt Sproul, his race has gone up, down, every which way around, and Ryu the same as Clanvik is now leading, and well, Zined Gaming says how many potion stamps did they want to put on that? That's a guess, and Sproul's round! I didn't quite see what led to the contact between the two of them and who might be the fault, but Sproul has gone around again, and Matt Sproul has had a lap of nightmares here, as Ryu has picked up some damage as well, and Chris Cole's all over the back of the third place silver driver now, and Ollie Pimley's only 4 seconds back. This could all change. Cole's going to go around the outside straight away here. Ryu's got damage on that car. I don't think it's got the straight line speed. He's going to look up the inside, but right now definitely the red mist is starting to descend for a few of our silver drivers as much as our gold drivers. Cole's going to take that place, uses all the cutting there to turn number 12 to keep a nice tight inside line, so Cole holds at third in silver and 10th overall for now, but we need to take a look back at some of the big moments from only moments ago, starting with the send of the day. Now this was Emma Ryu making the way down the back straight, and well, the Italian driver here, the privateer, getting ready to go on the brakes, and in the end it just came in way too hot. Dodged one car, dodged another. To be fair, you could see jinxed the car to the left intentionally to open up as much space as possible so Simnor would see that Emma was coming, and in the Italian driver doing a very good job of avoiding that. But then we had this drama for Matt Sparrell. Now this was Sparrell battling with Richard Simnor. Too wide, they went for turn number 2, took a lot of curb there at 2. First contact, second contact, and that sent Sparrell spinning to the wall. But that wasn't it, because then Sparrell had this happen only months later through turn number 8. It was Ryu up the inside with a big lunge, and as they came to the apex of the corner, Ryu lost the rear of the car, went to the barrier, and Sparrell tried to cut to the inside, and that's what sent it around. So a loss of control from the Italian driver, and Sparrell the victim of circumstance there, many would say. Well, goodness me, what a difficult moment of the day. But as we come back to your live racing, the clock is 5 seconds away from striking 30 minutes, and that means, of course, we enter our final lap. We'll have a 16th and final tour of the circuit. The clock strikes 30, and Matt Strand right now leads ahead of Andy Jones, who is a second behind, but is never quite away. Oscar Bernson is trying to close up to this. He's trying to make it another 1-2 for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing. However, the problem is right now that gap is 1.8 seconds. He's going to need an absolute mammoth lap here if he wants to try and close this down. His relative pace has been half a second a lap faster compared to Jones on average. So therefore, Bernstein, I think, right now is going to need a bit of a miracle to make this happen, but they do happen every so often. Ryan Davis and Mikey Pollard fighting here. That's going to be Davis looking around the outside of Pollard into turn number 11. Well, that's a very brave sweeping move. Pollard still with him. 2 wide they enter. 2 wide they'll exit through 12 and then into 13. But Davis will get it done in the end, so brilliant work from him. And that's going to be the change. A Sparrell battling here with Kim-Andre Björlund. Björlund on the inside won't be crowded. That's going to get very tight to turns 13 and 14. But Björlund makes it work there, and that looked like clockwork. But from them to the very front, and well, time has ticked away. But for Matt Strand, he's gradually moved forward, and in the end, he's going to make it his first win of the season here in the feature race at Miami, ahead of Andy Jones, who finished in second. And Oscar Bernson completes the overall gold podium there with another double podium for the Ice Cold Racing team. Richard Simnor takes 4th place in the end in an absolute battle-brazen fight ahead of Joe Newman, and then Adam Clanvik takes home a silver win here. He won't quite believe that. I don't think anybody can. He's your back-to-back silver winner today ahead of Krista Halsoy, who somehow made it from 18th to 2nd in the 18th to 7th overall, but 2nd in silver. Ryan Davis takes 8th ahead of Mikey Pollard, and then Emma Ryu takes the final podium in the silver class, 10th overall, ahead of Chris Cole, who didn't quite have enough to make that place count. Kim-Andre Björlund, meanwhile, makes his way across the line. He will finish in 12th place ahead of Ollie Pimley and Glenn Gondoliers. And then we do have Nicholas Gronstrom, who finished in 15th place ahead of Timo Gertner, Aaron Herbert, Alan McCain, and Matty Wild in the end. He finds himself under some late pressure for the Track 6 racing machine of Daniel Shilcock, but he'll take 19th ahead of Shilcock, who rounds off your top 20, with then David Biggerdite coming on home in 21st place. And then it will be last but by no means least, Nina Braun, who finishes in 22nd there. We've still got a couple more drivers to come before all is said and done. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a race it has been. And, well, it's kept us guessing every step of the way. Fabrizio Penzo, meanwhile, he makes his way to the finish line. He's going to be coming home in 14th in silver and 23rd overall. And a bit of a baptism by fire for the Italian today. He definitely had a lot of pace in qualifying, but in race one it all went wrong, and that's really summarised his day. Casper Tunstead, your last lead lap finisher there in 24th place. Well, as the circuit falls silent, our drivers have definitely enjoyed their first race of the season, their first race in anger in this Porsche 992.2 Cup car. We do see some drivers parking up there, and some words, I believe, been exchanged between Kim-Andre Bjørland and Mikey Pollard as they were parking up, but I suspect that's an apology from Pollard with regards to what happened. Well, let's take a look to the scenic view, and with it, to the provisional race results. So race number 2 here at Miami for round number 1 of season 1 of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup, brought to you on iRacing and sponsored by Energise Virtual Solutions, definitely kept us guessing every step of the way. But one thing that was certain at the very end is that Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing, were going to chase down back-to-back victories. But it wasn't Oscar Bernsen who took the win this time, it was Matt Strand who fought his way through, the Norwegian driver taking a win by only 6 tenths over the Welshman of DCW Racing Blues, Andy Jones. Oscar Bernsen round off your top 3 there, both overall and in gold, a brilliant effort from him. The Swede for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing, bringing home that double podium for the team, and he will definitely be looking to try and take the championship lead if Strand does not. Then we do see Richard Simnot in full for DCW Racing Blue in an absolutely brimming race full of battles, but what a job he did, the Briton there, ahead of Joe Newman for Empire Motorsport, who definitely had to get his elbows out several times today fighting against the Silvers. Adam Klanvik somehow, someway makes it back-to-back silver victories in the first round of the season, although I think he's even going to know that this win here in the feature race was as much of down to him avoiding trouble as it was his pace, albeit the Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing driver won't complain about that. He was 7 seconds ahead of Krista Halzoy, who was your runner-up in silver, and what a driver, the Tractix Racing driver, demonstrating that sometimes you've just got to keep it clean. Ryan Davies was 8th there for Empire Motorsport ahead of Mikey Pollard, with the film at BIL.NO for L Sport racing driver in the end not quite able to find his way past Davies towards the close, but he was able to hold off the third place silver class driver of Emma Ryu, with the Italian there completing your top 10. Chris Cole was best the rest in 11th place and 4th in silver, ahead of Kim-Andre Bjørland, with the Sim Racing Norway driver then being followed up by Ollie Pimley, who round off your top 5 in the silver. And a great effort there for the Go Squadron esports driver. Now, it was going to be a tough race, but he managed it well. Glenn Gondeliers in 6th there for the Silvers, 14th overall for Pegasus Sim Racing, with 6 seconds ahead of Nicholas Gronstrom, with a Peak Sim Racing driver from Sweden rounding off your top 15. We saw Timo Gertner in 16th place ahead of Aaron Herbert, with further 4 seconds to Alan McCain. The iRacing esports team today definitely having a very difficult day in the office. Matty Wilder in 19th place for DCW Racing Yellow, and Daniel Shilcock completes your top 20 for Tractix Racing. Outside the top 20, David Biggerdike was 21st, 3 seconds ahead of Nido Braun, with the German driver there finishing 20 seconds clear of Fabrizio Penzold. And then we did see your last lead lap finisher of Casper Tunstead in 24th place for Peak Sim Racing. It was a lap down to Matt Sproul, who would be absolutely gutted with the fact that he had the win in his fingertips, only for it to slip out of his way, and violently so. But he was ahead of Ben Sieber, with the DCW Racing Yellow drive being followed up by 3 laps down Nick Clibbins and Mark Collicott, which your sole retiree from this race, classified 28th, but will be seen as a non-finisher. So with that, ladies and gents, that completes our rundown of the race results for race number 2 here today. What a race it has been. What a way to open up in the inaugural series at Race by Wire. And the great thing is, whilst the racing may have stopped, we haven't got any more racing on the schedule for today. And indeed, all the lights do go out here at Miami. All the lights stay on for this broadcast, because coming up in approximately 5 minutes' time will be our first post-round interviews of the season. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss them. We will see you very soon. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we get our first interview of the season underway. And joining me for our first interview of the series is none other than Matt Strand, who joins me in the interview room now. Good evening to you, Matt. And my good lord, what a way to open up the season. Second place in qualifying, second place in the first race, and a win in the feature. I mean, you must be absolutely pleased with your performance today.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, thank you. I was a bit surprised I could keep up with Oscar because he's been quite rapid on this track. So I was a bit surprised I could keep on his tail through the feet. But the draft is quite strong here, so even with a bit of pace difference, you can keep up.
Well, definitely the pace all came together, and so did a little bit of the draft as well. And just talking about coming into the season, of course, we know that you're a big fan of the Porsche Cup car. We've seen you race in the 992.1 in several series. But with the 992.2, what do you feel has been the biggest difference, the thing you've had to get used to in this car?
The ABS for sure. That's the biggest thing with this car. I used to drive GT3 before I drove the pickup, but that's like 1 or 2 years ago now. So not be able to having that feedback of the tire locking up, that's a new thing, and I'm still struggling with consistency to have a consistent ABS application, and also while the tire were wearing down. But it's the same for everybody, so it's just a matter of driving the car. Still feels like a pickup though. Just have to drive a bit harder to make it bite, in my opinion.
I see. So having to drive it a bit more strongly in order to understand how it feels, particularly with the ABS. And well, you demonstrated that well in qualifying, albeit it was very close throughout the qualifying session. But your teammate Oscar Bernson pipping you to pole, were you a bit gutted by that, or were you happy with where you started?
I was up 2 or 3 tenths on my last run, but I got a slide at the end of the lap, ABS slide, a bit hard on trail braking, but it was okay. I haven't done that many qualifying runs in this car, so being that close to Oscar was good. Happy with that.
Well, definitely a solid start to your qualifying for the season. But of course, qualifying is just one part of the story. Race number one, we saw the two of you try to run away with the race, and you did so quite handsomely in the end. I mean, was there a point where you perhaps went from thinking, you know what, I'm just going to follow my teammate through to, I'm now going to pressure him because I kind of want that win? And we of course, saw that into turn one.
Yeah, for sure. If I would have the pace, I would have let him know I would attack. But I did a couple of mistakes. I did catch up with 1 or 2 laps left, I think. But then I made a mistake and the gap was back up to 0.8 tenths, and that was too big for me to do an attack. So if I would have been close enough, I would probably attack.
Oh, fair play. I mean, if you've been close enough, we would love to have seen it, but not quite so. But we saw you manage the car very well. But going from the sprint to the feature, 2.5 times length, 30 minutes, and you started it in ninth. But you had a lightning quick start in race number one. What was that all about?
Yeah, with this car, the difference between a good start and a bad start isn't as big as the old one because you're limited to 6,000 RPMs. I think the 2 cars in front basically they did launch control, they didn't do dual clutch, and I used dual clutch, so then I was off the line quite quickly. And I did some practice today and yesterday, so I think my starts are okay, and the cars in front did a bad start. So if you compare me to Kim André, I think we were quite similar off the line. It's just the two in front did a bad start, so it was okay, I guess.
Well, in your own words, an okay start, but you very quickly picked up the places in the early stages against silvers and gold drivers. But I have to ask, what's it like following another car around here? Because we know these Porsche Cup cars, they don't have too much air on them, but they do have a very large rear wing. And this is a circuit that's made for Formula One cars, so surely with a lot less aero, it must have been even tougher to follow a car.
I haven't done that much races with it yet, so I'm a bit unsure how different it is from the old one. But today it felt fine, and I think this like it's for Formula One, and these cars have a massive amount of tow. So it's a lot of fun driving around here because you gain like I don't know, maybe half a second in the tow. So it's actually quite fun when if you can manage the track and have the tow. There's also a lot of heavy braking zones, so you can go for a dive or go for a send. So quite fun actually.
Oh, indeed, you were having a lot of fun out there. We saw you making moves and in the early stage of the race, and towards the end, it was about chasing down Andy Jones, of which it took you several laps, but you were there. Was there a particular place that you thought, I'll go for the move there on him because he seems to be vulnerable, or it's a place you've just enjoyed overtaking drivers at?
I struggled a bit with pace. He kept the gap, but I thought I would just need to get get the lap times down and get the gap down to 1.7, 1.6. That's where the toe seems to come into effect. And once the gap was down to 1.6, 1.7, the distance just shrunk within 1 or 2 laps. And I think it was into the last corner and in the middle sector. There's a couple of places I thought I could go for the overtake.
I see. Well, in the end, you were able to make it work and coming out the last couple of corners, despite Andy being within 6 attempts, you're taking your first win of the season. So a win and second place, it makes you our initial championship leader in gold. I mean, that's a little bit of a marker you're going to have to now carry into Christmas.
Yeah, I don't expect that to continue. Oscar tends to be quicker than me. We went for a bit of different setup. I think we will evaluate that, or he will evaluate that. I think actually the setup was a difference here because he's actually a quicker driver than me, so I think he'll bounce right back for sure. And with reverse grid, it's a bit of luck, a bit of to make it through the traffic as well. Although he made it up to P3, I guess. So in the end.
Well, fortune favours the brave, and today you definitely made the most of it. Of course, we head to Interlagos when we return in January, a Brazilian circuit that holds nothing back when it comes to close racing. Is it a circuit you go well at, or one that you need a lot of practice on?
I haven't driven it too much, but I think it was on the last season and the season before in Porsche Cups. I've been driven it more. Normally the racing, at least in the P Cup, tend to be a lot of fun there, so we'll see. I think it'll be interesting.
Oh, 100%. And we look forward to seeing what you can do when we visit there in 3 weeks' time. But Mats, just as I get ready to let you go, I do have to ask, as always, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, great thank you to the team, especially Tobias Olsen, who has been working his ass off on the last week, doing the officials and sharing his knowledge and telemetry and setup. That saves me a lot of work. So a huge thank you to all of the guys on the team who is sharing and putting on the hard work and being good teammates.
Well, we must say a huge thank you to you, Mats, for a brilliant job today and taking the initial championship lead in the gold class. Whether you can maintain it or not, we'll have to wait and see when we do come back in 2026. But with that, congratulations once again. And as we let you go, we wish you and the team a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Paul.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Matt Strand in the gold class and the ice cold racing by Max Sim Racing Drive today, doing an incredible job. Talking about initially the fact that with regards to this Porsche Cup car, the thing he's had to adjust most to is the introduction of the ABS, not having that feedback, that more visceral feedback of when the brakes are locking and when the tyre is sliding, and instead the electronics taking away that feel and having to realise where the line is between the ABS being triggered and not being triggered. But with that, when he went into qualifying, he was very happy with his qualifying performance, but he felt as though there was more time out there and perhaps he could have taken that pole position, but it wasn't to be. And in the first race, we saw him go for the lead early on. He took the lead, but then his teammate, Oscar Bernson, took it back. And as he mentioned there, if he was close enough, he would have gone for the move, but always prioritised making sure the result came home for the team. And then in race number 2, when the feature, what a start from him. And talking about the fact it was due to the second phase of the start, which is where he was able to gain the time, rather than the clutch balancing, it was the subsequent pushing up through the gearbox, and that's what enabled Mats to roar his way through and very quickly make his way into the top 5, after which it was about tearing down the times of drives in front and mentioning with this circuit, the Miami Autodrome circuit being designed for Formula 1, the slipstream was incredibly strong, and as soon as you got within 1.6 seconds of the car in front, you could close the time, and that's exactly what he did to Andy Jones and made his way on through. But will it be as straightforward as that when we come back at Interlagos? Some would say it probably won't be, and Matt's will put in a lot of practice to make sure it can be. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got more interviews to come. We'll be back very shortly for our second interviewee. So, ladies and gentlemen, we head from the gold class to the silver class, and in comes none other than Krista Halsoy. Good evening to you, Krista, and well, what an odd day of racing. Qualifying looked good. Race number 1, it all went a bit wrong. Race number 2, the feature, it all went so right, you end up on the podium. I mean, do you know what to make of today?
Honestly, mate, I have no idea. All I can say is, driving-wise, it's pretty evident that I only started driving this track and this car, for that matter, a few hours ago, I guess. But no, it's been a wild one. Had some crazy dodges as well. I think it was like lap 8 in the heat race where I had to go through 3 cars that all spun in the I forget the corner number, but the long left. And there's a lot of nudging back and forth, but I guess that's just the nature of new car, new track, and new people.
Oh, 100%. A bit of a proverbial baptism by fire, if you will, but breaking it down into parts, just tell us a little bit about your experience with the Porsche Cup car. You mentioned there the fact that you only really learned this circuit in this car in a couple of hours, but have you raced the previous car before? Is this entirely new to you? Because we know you do a lot of GT3 racing.
So a little bit. I won't say I have any real race experience with the car. I've done some lapping with it, but only mostly to just test my own lap times against some friends. It's been a long time since I did any actual races in the previous car, and it's the first time I've done it in this. Actually, no. I think I might have done one race in week 13 just to try the car when it was new. But it's a brand new experience. I'm learning that the technique matters way more. Specifically, one of the things that seems to stand out is that braking more does not mean you're slowing down more in this car. That is very evident, and that seems to be one of the big differences between people that manage to get good lap times and myself.
Well, a learning experience as you went, and particularly knowing where the balance lies in the brakes. Qualifying then, rather good performance from yourself. Whilst there were a few silver drivers who did outpace you, 10th overall, 4th in class. Were you then surprised perhaps of where you started?
Honestly, a little bit, yeah. Though, as I've kind of said before, I do feel a bit disappointed because I did have a lap that could have been slightly better. I don't think I had much more in it, mostly due to just, well, almost learning the track while qualifying to run it all out, and which isn't ideal, obviously. But no, it's I was quite happy with it overall, and then obviously I fell backwards. There was a bit of bullying, and I try as best as I can to avoid being the cause of any mishaps. Though I did have an unfortunate contact with Glenn. Unfortunately, I did apologize to him. He accepted my apology, which is great of him. Where I had a touch and he spun out. So it's been a bit all over the place, but in general, I think it's been mostly good the entire race, honestly, or the entire event today.
Well, you definitely sound positive from it, and we saw, whilst your sprint race was a bit of a tough one, in the feature race, you gradually made up the places. You mentioned there about having to avoid the wayward cars in front of you in that long left-hander turn number 8, I do believe, but you made it through that. And at what point did you realise that you were suddenly in not just 7th overall, but 2nd in silver in the feature?
I want to say it was either the 2nd or 3rd lap to last. I noticed someone went off in the last corner, and I looked down and saw, wait, this can't be right. I only have one silver ahead of me, because I think up until that point I had 4 or 5 ahead of me. So I actually don't. I haven't checked exactly what happened to people, but something must have happened because more than one driver ended up off the track or something. Which I guess I'll have to go and watch back. I mean, I'll take a free P2. I'm not going to complain about it. So that's good.
Oh, 100%. A positive end today and plenty to take going into 2026. When we do come back, we will be at Interlagos in Brazil. Is it a circuit you're looking forward to?
You know, generally speaking, probably. In this car, I haven't made up my mind yet. I still need to do some laps. I guess it's a very good thing that it's quite a few weeks out still, just to get to grips with both the car and the car on with the track. Maybe even a few of the tracks coming up this season, just to try and be a bit more prepared.
Well, there'll be plenty of time to practice, but at this point, as I get ready to let you go, I'd normally ask you to give a shout out to individuals, but because Christmas is coming, I'm going to change the question a little bit. Krista, putting you on the spot here, what's your favourite Christmas song?
Oh, well, yeah. Which one is that? I think the one that immediately falls to mind has to be Last Christmas. I think.
Brilliant.
That one seems to be the one that comes to mind.
Oh, goodness me. Well, you never know. Your Porsche Cup car might be saying, come next year. Last Christmas, you gave me your heart and all the practice time in the car. But as we do get ready to let you go, Krista, thank you for joining me in the interior room. A great set of performances from yourself today. Perhaps a surprise out there, but surprise is always welcome. And we look forward to seeing how you get on when we do come back in the new year. Until then, my friend, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year ahead.
Thanks for having me, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you too.
So hearing there, ladies and gentlemen, from Krista Halsoy, who we put slightly on the spot right at the end there, but Last Christmas, all the choices, that's a good one, I can tell you that. But coming back to more of the serious end of the racing, and that is, of course, the Tractics Racing driver, his performances today. Feeling as though, with the time he had to practice both in the car and the circuit, that he did well, but he was learning every lap he turned, and that was evident in qualifying, and therefore a bit of mixed feelings there. Happy with the 10th place, and perhaps a little bit surprised given his relative inexperience, but knowing there was still more pace on the table, and it is one of those bittersweet moments where you feel as though, well, I did very well given my limited time, but I know I've got more in the tank because it's coming very quickly, the pace, and unfortunately the sprint race didn't translate into that because of the difficulties that Krista had in amongst all the pack. So he really looked beyond the sprint, recovered as best he could to 18th, but in the feature, well, avoided some chaos, definitely avoided some carnage at turn number 8, and picked up the places one by one, and by the end of it all, 7th place overall, 2nd in class. Well, a big surprise for him, but what a big score of points. Definitely means when he comes back into Lagos on the 7th of January 2026, he's going to be one of those drivers we need to watch out for, because if he gets it right in his practice, I wouldn't be surprised if Krista Halsoy starts to become a force to be reckoned with from the outset when we do start the racing again in round number 2. But with that, ladies and gents, we've got one more interview to come, but who's it going to be with? Well, we're going to find out very shortly, as we'll be right back. And so for our final interview tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we go back to the gold class and we are joined by the man who took victory in the first race of the day and also the overall pole position. It's Oscar Bernson. Good evening to you, Oscar. And well, what a way to start. We spoke to your teammate Matt earlier on and he was very happy with his performances, but how are you feeling? Something tells me you're going to be happy with how you've done today, but perhaps you wanted it to be a perfect night of 2 wins.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy. Like, a win in the first race was good. A lot of drivers that I haven't been racing before, so it was like, I know I was the highest I rating, but like you never know. There's someone just racing leagues with a lower I rating. But I think, yeah, I managed it okay tonight. Mats had a lot more speed than I expected. Hope he takes it the right way when I say so. But yeah, I'm sure this will be a good fight throughout the season.
Oh, 100%. If today's anything to go by, you guys have set us up with a treat, and that's before we consider all other 34 drivers who are going to be on the grid. I asked Mats this earlier. I'm going to ask yourself as well, because I know you've raced the 992.1 quite regularly. What has been the biggest thing you've had to get to grips with the 992.2 car?
Oh, I mean, it's tough with the ABS. Like, how are you supposed to use it? Are you supposed to abuse it? Are you supposed to like have it as a emergency, like you don't hit it, like unless you fuck something up. Sorry for the swear. But yeah, probably the ABS and also the new tires with the. It's hard to know how you can push the first laps with the cold tires now because they are very slippery compared to the old tires.
I see. Well, from that, and having to draw upon that knowledge that you've been building, pole positioning qualifying, I mean, in the session, we saw yourself and Mats in particular exchange the pole time constantly. Was it a circuit that was just constantly getting faster? Because in the end, I think you were the only driver to set a 54.9, but Mats felt he even had a little bit more time available to him.
Yeah, I think there maybe was more time if I would have been more cautious in the start of the race. If we look at the feature race, to like save the tires then and push later on when I had less fuel. But not much. And as I said before, I'm impressed by Matt's speed. He's really found something in this car that has stepped him up a lot compared to the old car.
Oh, indeed. I mean, your teammate definitely looked quick, so did you. In the sprint, then, you took the victory, but Mats was not too far behind. As for the feature race, you started in 10th, took a bit of time to find your way through the field, eventually did, and made your way to 3rd. What took you so long to come through the field? We know you had to battle, but was it difficult running behind other cars?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot. They had like pretty good pace. I felt like there was also some incidents. No, well, not say incidents, but like I think there was lap 4, turn 1. Adam accidentally dive bombed me, my own teammate. So that cost me a few seconds, and then I did a stupid mistake of trying to overtake him. And yeah, there was a mix of unluck and yeah, stupid mistakes by me. And well, Mats seemed to well, or obviously he managed the traffic much better and got the win. So big ups to him.
Well, he may have managed the traffic to take the win, but you still made it a 3rd place in our final race of the day. And with it, therefore, the two of you are going to be leading the championship going into next year. Speaking of which, when we return, we head to Interlagos. Is it a circuit you're looking forward to?
I mean, it's okay. I had a few good races there before, but it's not like an absolute favorite track. But I'm sure it will turn out good. We have, I think I'm gonna start training for it tomorrow. So I have some good time on training for it. So yeah, I don't know. It's a new car also, so maybe the car suits really good there, and maybe it don't. We'll see.
Oh, fair play. And look into the wider calendar. I mean, when you signed up for this season, were there any rounds in particular that really screamed out to you? If you had to win at one circuit, you're guaranteed to win at that circuit.
Sadly, we're missing out the Nürburgring. That one I am pretty fast at, but we're not doing that because it's on New Year's Eve, I think. But I mean, I'm pretty good at Daytona. I know it's gonna be a bit of a slipstream fest, but yeah, it's gonna be good. And also Sebring. I like Sebring, so maybe those two tracks.
All fair play. We'll keep an eye out for you at both of those. But as we do get ready to let you go, Oscar, I do have to ask, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Well, to the team, and I have to say sorry to Adam for the miscommunication at a moment in the race, and to the whole Race by Wire community and the admins for hosting this, because this seems to be good.
Oh, brilliant. Well, with that, Oscar, thank you for joining me in the interview room. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this evening and see you absolutely deliver a brilliant set of results today, particularly for that pole lap and also the win in race number 1. We'll see you next year when we head to Interlagos and look forward to seeing whether you can continue that momentum. But until then, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from our final interviewee of the season, for our season opener, and what an interview there from Oscar Berntsson, the Gold Class driver, and talking about, much like Matt Strand, having to get to grips with the ABS, and with it, once he's got to grips with it, being able to then deliver the laps, and talking about the fact there was quite a bit of pace there in qualifying still to go, and we should correct ourselves, he set a 54.6 in qualifying, not 54.9. He was half a second faster than anybody else, and knowing there was a little bit more time out there as he continues to get to grips with the 992.2. In the sprint race, mentioned the fact that he was able to really control the race after retaking the lead from his teammate early on, and therefore very happy with the 1-2 and the fact he was able to lead, but also pleasantly surprised that his teammate Matt Strand was able to stay with him and take the fight to him. In the feature race, mentioned about the fact that he wasn't quite as fortunate with the way he came through the other cars to make his way into the top 5, and he had to play it careful, plus also a bit of a miscommunication with his teammate and 2-time silver winner today, Adam Klanvik, meant that unfortunately he lost some time that otherwise he may have gained from. But those mistakes happen, and well, he heads onwards towards Interlagos. A round he's not necessarily looking forward to it as much as, say, Sebring, for example, or Daytona, but still, not every round is going to be everybody's favourite, but it's about maximising your successes and minimising your losses, and Oscar Berntsson knows all about that, most certainly. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our interviews for this evening. And our first 3 interviews, we give them all a big thank you. They have been for this season Matt Strand for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing, in the gold class, and then we did of course hear from silver classes Tractix racing driver of Krista Halsoy, and then we just heard from Oscar Berntsson back in the gold class in a number 35 for Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing. A huge thank you to all 3 of them for their time this evening, and well done to them all for their brilliant performances, and we look forward to plenty more as the season goes on. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now thinking, you know what, come 2026, my New Year's resolution is going to be to get on the grid and enjoy some of my own sim racing. Perhaps you're sat there right now thinking, I want to be on the grid at Race by Wire. Well, how can you get on the grid with us? All you got to do is join the official Discord, invite link available on screen. That's the beating heart of the community, and we would be very happy to have you on the grid with us as we continue our journey and start to really build our community as quickly as possible, and we'd love to have you as part of our journey along the way. We'd also like to take a moment to say a huge thank you to our series sponsor, and that was none other there than Energise Virtual Solutions, their web address of course being energisevirtual.com. And well, Energise Virtual Solutions is a software consultancy whose aim is to meet the demands of bespoke product services and development. Whether it's a completely new project or consultancy assistance on existing projects, Energise Virtual Solutions will be working alongside you every step of the way. So if you'd like to know more, do head to their website at energisevirtual.com. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to know more as well about how the season continues. There's only one slight conundrum, and that is we now have a 3-week break. We've opened up, we've whetted your appetite, and we set you up for an absolute Christmas feast of racing quite early on. But don't worry, we'll be back on Wednesday the 7th of January 2026 for an all-new year and an all-new round of racing action. There'll be 9 rounds back-to-back, starting with round number 2 in Brazil at Interlagos, and at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, we'll see whether it is going to be Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing's Oscar Berntsson and Matt Strand who continue to lead the way, and as for silver, can Adam Klanvik make sure that it's not luck that puts him onto back-to-back wins, but he continues to be on pace, given the fact there's plenty of silver stars out there who are itching for their first wins of the season. With all that and more, we'll see you then in the new year, but until then, we have been Raced by Wire, and we'd like to say thank you very much for tuning in this evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I've been Paul Walsh, also known as TX11 or Britain's Spit depending on what media you follow me on. And that leaves me to say, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, have a Merry Christmas, and remember to stay on track. Good night.